God, I love Overwatch. I love Overwatch episode 135. It's my favorite episode and my favorite number. Combination numbers 1 + 3 + 5. 9.
Yep.
Shit.
Took me a while to work that one out. A little bit of time here. Welcome to Plat Chat Overwatch episode 135. I locked myself into the Overwatch League speedrun yesterday so that I could host this episode. We ran a poll before this episode. Who was late for the podcast? 50% of you said that Bren was late for the podcast. You would be correct. I was late for the podcast. I've just opened up my can of Red Bull. We've got a whole gang here. Scott, Avast, Reinforced. We've got a whole gang here. Are you guys excited for Overwatch 2? Overwatch 2's beta is coming out soon. I mean, now.
Yeah, second beta.
Junker Queen. Woo.
Beta 2. I love Beta 2. I'm a big fan of the second beta myself. So it'll
I'm
be
more
fun.
of a Beta 3 kind of fan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe more of a Beta
is where
3.
it's at.
Yeah. I'm investing in Beta 3 like Web 3.
That makes sense. You are a massive beta. I didn't mean to insult you.
Dude, that was such a bad joke. It wasn't even insulted.
It wasn't really a joke.
I feel like that was
all.
insulting to you, Bren.
Yeah. Do you think I should go bald?
I think if you go bald with that
Yeah.
mustache, that would be too much power.
Too much of a look.
That would be too much power for one person if you go
Absolutely.
bald with that mustache.
Can you
It would
imagine
be
you and Josh? Oh,
You and
my
Josh
God.
together, the double eggs on the broadcast. Honestly,
That'd be so. I don't know. We'd look silly. I think
You're like Team Rocket.
one bald person looks fine, but two is too much. Do you have any
it
dramatic
starts
music?
getting unsettling.
You could like rub your naked heads
I do
against
not.
each other.
You don't have dramatic music?
Not on hand, unfortunately.
Frick. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna jump into this raw, gentlemen. All men strive for gold in their life, right? Gold medals, gold watches, gold everything. However, there's a certain type of man who goes the extra mile. He walks with the confidence of an eagle, and I'm not talking Joshua Wilkinson, and he giggles in the face of danger. I'm definitely not talking about Josh Wilkinson. He's big, hairless, winning machine, and when he unzips his trousers, what does he see? Platinum? Ringing any bells? Anyone? That's right, Manscaped would like to introduce you to their best and biggest ultimate hygiene bundle yet, the Platinum Package 4.0. Manscaped is the leader in below-the-waist grooming, and now trust them with the whole shebang. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped TM by going to manscaped.com for 20% off, plus free shipping with code Plat Chat. I had to read the screen.
Do it.
Manscaped, get yourself a Platinum Package Manscaped. Platinum Package 4.0, Manscaped. Listen, guys, get it? You can shave your mustache like me. If you want to be bald, you can be like Josh as well. Or you can do what it's intended for, and you can save your genitals.
Yeah,
Just trust us. Just trust us. We can't show proof, but trust us. It's good stuff. All
That's
right?
if we open up a Patreon though and use the Patreon, the highest tier members can see the proof. If we get the highest tier Patreon.
I wasn't done talking. I have to say,
Oh.
listen, get 20% off free shipping with code PlatChat at manscaped.com. 20% off for free shipping at manscaped.com and use code PlatChat. It's time you enjoyed the finer things in life. Get yourself a platinum package for your platinum package. Boom. Dunzo.
Free shipping. Yeah.
I thought Bren was gonna leave. He's like, I'm done here.
Yeah, that's it. Did the ad read? That's it for me. It's time to go. I thought that was actually going to go a very different direction. I don't know what I couldn't believe that ended up. I don't know. I don't know if you were trying to segue into something else or talk about how the blood doesn't drain from your head again. Like
it doesn't. It doesn't drain from my head. Quite problematic. Where am I? Oh, right. Yes. Okay. New developer blog. Boom. I'm jumping into it straight away. All right. Let's actually get into the Overwatch section of the show. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
There's not much of a back and forth here. This relationship that we've got going on here, this podcast, it's just me talking.
Well, you're very. I sometimes
I can't match
talk
it.
about going bald, and you're talking about the blood not draining your head. You said
absolute nonsense.
Sounds like
man.
you were a lab experiment gone wrong at times. You know, with all the various things that's happening over there. Kind of scary. It's intimidating.
There was a new developer blog posted, right? And they went over what the theoretical changes, the potential changes, the actual changes, stuff that they were planning to do with the DPS, this, that, and the other. I don't know. Listen, I'm going to be real with you. I skim read this. I've had a busy couple of days. I've had meetings, multi-million-dollar meetings. Me and Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, we met up for lunch or brunch, and we were talking business deals and plans. Scott, what's the gist of this then? Should the people be happy with this? Are the people happy? You've got your ear to the ground. You can feel what the common masses are expecting.
The rumblings of this article are essentially just like, most of it is kind of, irrelevant if you don't care too much about like the nice little, I don't know where to go with this. Unless you care about the ultimate charge change. And that is the big thing. DPS passive has been changed. Instead of having just the flat movement speed, which was incredibly boring and nobody cared about, they've removed that, and they've now made it so that 30% of your DPS hero that you switch away from is retained when you switch to a new hero. So if you go from, let's say, Tracer with 60% ult charge and you switch to Reaper, you'll have 30% ult charge on Reaper. It is not percentage based for like the way it works. The developers said this in the AMA. It is not percentage based. There is a hidden number behind every ult charge. So like think about it like it's harder to get a Reaper ult than a Tracer ultimate. So it's not flat, just if you have 30% Tracer ult, you'll get 30% Reaper. It's a little bit less than that, and the numbers are out there, but it's kind of confusing. But for the most part, you'll just retain 30% of your ultimate charge, which incentivizes switching, which hopefully is exciting, and it will be cool. It's better than the movement speed passive, but...
Yeah, I quite like this
movement
idea.
speed passive was meh.
I might have gone too far when I wrote big changes, but it affects the game pretty massively. I really do think that this ultimate passive change is going to drastically change the incentives to swap heroes after the first fight, because as we all know, it sucks to walk out on a hero and it turns out you're countered essentially, and then you're like, well, I built 60% ult and I kind of want to get this dragon strike now or whatever, but Hangzhou kind of sucks here, and so this just like makes it easier to swap to a different hero. So in essence, I mean, it just makes hero swapping more viable for damage players, and I think at the end of the day, that is what makes Overwatch 2 unique. That there are no hero bans, there are no hero picks, so you can just swap to whatever heroes you like, and incentivizing that part of the game, I think it's great for the game. I think it's going to be great for the Overwatch League. I'm looking forward to see it used in the Overwatch League and see if people even roll out with like weird bad heroes, because they know that, if I roll out on a Symmetra or a Torbjorn or whatever, I'm just saying dumb shit. If I just roll out on this hero that most of the case is countered, then I'm not going to get as punished for, picking it for the first fight. So I think it's a fantastic change. That's why I said big changes. I think it's a really great change, and I look forward to seeing it being used and if it helps the game out.
I was confused of your point there, Johnny. I thought you were going to be like, oh, they were throwing the first fight just for fun because they get ult charge. But you mean like they were going to do a cheese strat or like some sort of like interesting TP strat. Yeah. Okay, you don't just mean like they're going to throw for fun because they get ult charge anyway.
No, throwing for fun.
Not all side, Joe. Come on.
I like the change, though. I think it's more in line of what their original goal was for Overwatch, right? All the time they were talking about they didn't want to do like bans, or they didn't want to lock people in at the beginning of the game in terms of the heroes they selected, because they wanted people to be swapping. And then the entire gameplay concept of the ultimates being like the only way to break through stalemates and choke points means that you don't want to swap. So it's like a complete counterpoint to it. But this is one way to, I guess, roll that back. And it's also in line, I guess, with their thought process with Overwatch 2 development, which is like a big opportunity for them to completely rethink how Overwatch is played. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit more interesting than the speed boost business as well that they gave all the DPS. This is something that they're actually going to put in the game.
Yes.
It's in this beta.
It's in this beta.
It's out now.
Today,
coming out in the beta, coming out today.
Right now.
Yeah, it's going to be not right now. An hour from now.
The beta's out in an hour from now.
Yes.
Lame. Absolutely lame.
So not quite, but I mean, this has to be the biggest. I thought this is the biggest. This is the biggest change Overwatch has seen since going. I mean, other than going 5v5, right? But like in terms of like non-iteration, like from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, like this is the biggest change since like hero locks and like role locks. Because like it changes. We've been talking. I remember back in the day being in the OW Discord, 2016, 2017, talking about how not being able to retain your ult charge was like a huge problem with hero swaps. Like this has been something that people have been talking about in the community for like 5 years, like 6 years type of thing, like a crazy amount of time. So I think this is a very interesting change myself. And also, once again, I beg and I get on my knees. I fall to my knees in the Walmart parking lot saying, please, Scott Mercer, anyone, numbers. Just give us a set of numbers so I can know like what translates to, like what's the damage numbers? How do I get what ult points translate to what other ult points? Like just anything. I just want to just a smidge of numbers.
No. I want to add on to that as well. That's probably the answer, honestly. The thing that I think is interesting from the transition of Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, and this could be a change of like the Jeff Kaplan era, but in the past when we were talking to developers, in 2016, 2017, they wanted everything to be very simple and intuitive. Like they wanted you to like, just by default, nothing's too complicated that when something happens, you won't understand it. I think they're moving away from that in Overwatch 2, and they're making things a little bit more complicated. All these support passives, DPS passives, all these kind of things. They're willing to make changes that are better for the game, but they aren't as intuitive in the past. So I think that's a good thing because I think it makes the game more complex.
Yeah, they seem to be leaning in that direction. Now, this next topic, I read a comment or I read something that was related to this, and I cannot for the life of me remember where I read it. But does the game need less aim-oriented supports? I read something somewhere. I can't remember where. I'm assuming
it was in the art. It was in the article, I believe, and or just an interview where the Overwatch 2 dev said they wanted more Mercy-style support heroes that have less of an aim focus.
What's that movie with the guy and he's like, is it Memento?
Yeah,
he's just forgotten everything, and he's trying to like claw back the clues to discover like who the murderer is.
I mean, there's a lot of different movies based around that, but you're probably thinking of Memento because it's one of the most famous. So
that's what I feel like. I feel like I'm back in time. I'm just trying to find clues in the run of show as to what the fuck I've read over the last week, and I'm trying to keep my head above water. Does the game need less aim-oriented support? The pros and cons of this? Pros, more accessible heroes for people to play, where people feel more comfortable playing it outside of just Mercy, right? And yeah, I think the con is, so when I think of this, the con I think of is if they don't get the balance right, they end up with a hero that is not particularly engaging to play, that's just being played at the top level, like old Orisa.
Old Mercy?
Yeah, also
old Mercy, hey, sure.
Double Res.
But Mercy has like super jumps and stuff. Like, she has cool stuff.
Yeah, so
it changed so well. Yeah.
I think that there are some players who take a really hard stance on this, and they're just like, aiming is like the best thing in Overwatch. Just like there's nothing better than watching Sojourners pop or watching Widowmakers pop or, what have you. Tracer. Like Tracer is the best hero to watch in Overwatch. Okay. I'm going to go really hard the other way because it doesn't really matter if the hero is aim oriented. We've learned to appreciate different aspects of different heroes in Overwatch. So at the end of the day, you have to look at some of these other heroes. Like Mercy, for example, we can appreciate in the Overwatch League. We can appreciate a great Mercy player by their movement, by the way they use their Valkyrie, they like fly around, their ability to like multitask. Even a hero like Brigitte, we can appreciate good Brigittes. They're sick to watch, the way they just fly around the map and disorient and disrupt all the time. Reinhardt and Winston's, they're not aim-oriented heroes. Yeah, sure, you can fire like a laser with Winston, but you're not aiming. I mean, come on now. You got a fucking broom just sweeping with Tesla lighting in front of you. So at the end of the day, we've come to appreciate heroes that doesn't require aim, and it's not the focal point of the hero. So I don't think that aiming is as necessary, a crucial part of a hero's kit for us to really appreciate that hero and enjoy watching it and enjoy playing with it, etc. So I think this is a good thing if they just add more heroes that requires less aim, because we have a lot of heroes already where aiming is really important, but opening that door to people on console, Nintendo Switch, whatever, bringing the casual fans, I think that's a great thing for the game, and it doesn't mean that we're going to get, we're only going to get less aim-oriented supports moving forward. So overall, I go hard the other way. Less aim-oriented heroes in general, and we'll get some of each.
I would argue that there's been never a better time for less aim-oriented supports when the game is moving more DPS focused. Is how I've been feeling watching the game recently. I don't know if you guys can relate, at least watching it. I always feel like, I mean, the way I've been kind of correlating and come to that conclusion is like watching teams like Shanghai Dragons, where they were so team play oriented, and they've kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit more with the 5v5 change and DPS becoming more important in comps, and teams with like super heavy damage dealers are like now seeing crazy value, like the Hangzhou Spark with Alfie, or like Philly when they're not shitting the bed and choking with Zest. Like I feel like if there was ever a time for them to return to that, it would be in the form of like a less aim-oriented support. And then there's I don't know. I like the idea as well of making heroes that are a bit more accessible to people who they can play without feeling like they need to be a god aimer.
For me, there is the cool thing that makes Overwatch is that there are so many skills that you can use and get better at outside of aiming. And that's what makes these heroes. Like, I don't think Mercy is a great example. I think because everyone sees Mercy and some people just seethe.
Don't say Moira.
At the idea. Well, Moira is also a big problem the problem with Moira fundamentally is she's just not a skillful hero. You know, Moira mains, you can come at me on Twitter, but it's just not. Like, you just point in their general direction, you throw an orb, and you fade when someone jumps on you, right? That's not a skillful hero, but I think Brig is a prime example of that. She doesn't aim other than her whip shot, but she has a lot of skill involved in her. Same thing with Lucio, of like, it's all about the movement, it's all about your ability to go in and out, find your windows and stuff like that. That's high skill without requiring aim. They need to find heroes like that aren't always aim intensive, but you require a different skill to do that. And they've done that really well with some other heroes. I just think you got to be careful about doing like leashing kind of supports like Mercy. You don't want too many of those where players just feel like you're playing like a Yuumi or a Mercy or that kind of stuff, where you're not actually playing the game, you're just buffing someone else playing the game. So I like the idea of less aim orientated, but they need to have good skill ceilings.
Should be a response loop, a nice tactile response. You know, when you primal someone and you're pummeling them into the dirt, like, sure, you're not aiming, but like there's the whole setup of getting there, your jumps and the juggle mechanics, you know, like there's still mechanics involved with maybe not necessarily hard aim-based heroes, but there's not very many mechanics involved with Moira, you know, for example, which is the most obvious example. And I would say Mercy to a lesser degree, but Mercy also still has plenty of options in terms of like making sure your movement and jumps are good. So like there are still mechanics involved with far more, but like Moira is really like, that's the kiss of death. That's really the kiss of death of like, you can't have heroes like that. Like Lucio, Mercy, Winston style, like anything where there's like a feedback loop where your brain can like, you know, your brain's actively seeking out all that serotonin that you're deprived in your modern lifestyle when we don't have our tribal village lifestyles anymore. Like you're looking for something that's a feedback loop. That's, you're gonna be like, okay, this is good. I feel impact. Also, it's clearly noticeable on screen. They did something good here. Like this is a cool set of mechanics. I didn't necessarily have to go into the aim labs and hit fucking like 99% accuracy. Sure.
Yeah. Now, this next topic has this old chestnut come back with hero bans? Is this what are people talking about this again? This conversation's come up. Would you want hero bans in Overwatch 2? That's the topic. Why has this come up again? What's going on here?
It was another interview with the lead hero designer Jeff Goodman, and he was asked about hero bans being implemented. And I believe the quote is, "I would say hero bans are unlikely at this point, but I wouldn't say they're off the table. It does come up occasionally, so I don't think we'd ever say it's something we'd definitely not do." So it's a pretty good article. You know, if this is a topic that like interests you, if you're one of those people in the community that is like, you know, why wouldn't we want hero bans? Jeff Goodman did a pretty good job explaining their rationale behind their decisions. So, you know, this will come up. This will it will perpetually be brought up about hero bans in Overwatch 2, and especially as we get more and more heroes. I know that a few years back when we started to get more heroes in Overwatch 1, even like when Overwatch League started, and like around that time, people were just like, well, why wouldn't we get hero bans into the game? And I think, you know, we'll face this problem in just like a year, because we're going to get more heroes in the coming 12 months than we've had for a very long time, and people are going to feel like they have a hard time adapting. They're going to feel like there's just too many variables, and they're going to look for reasons to ban heroes that are overpowered, and they're going to, argue this once more. So I think this conversation will, perpetually be brought up just within Overwatch. So this is not the last time we're talking about it on Plat Chat. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, for me, it's a big thing of like, we always, if for anyone who advocates for hero bans, I used to be a big advocate for hero bans. I remember 2019, I'm like, hero bans should be a thing. While I was a player, I was like, yeah, competitive integrity. You guys remember watching the beginning of 2020 when we had hero pools every week?
Oh, so bad.
I didn't like hero pools.
The gameplay, hero pools in its current iteration, or at least what it was last year, was pretty good because it mixed it up for like 6 weeks. But when they were doing it weekly, similar to how a match by match hero ban would work, the gameplay fundamentally got way worse because people are just doing whatever the fuck they want. There was no rhyme. There was no reason. There was just like, oh, we can't play this what we usually play. Let's try this, I guess. And no one was playing the same thing.
They didn't have enough time to prep.
Teams were just losing in the hero selection lobby. Like people would just, they missed the meta. With these hero bans, they just didn't get it and they just straight up lost. And some people love that strategy, but there is not enough heroes in Overwatch 2 or in Overwatch to be able to justify that. There aren't heroes that do the similar enough things that if you ban one, you can pick one that does kind of the same thing. Not enough of that. As Johnny said, in Overwatch 2, as we get lots more heroes, hopefully if they stick to the current content schedule, maybe we can bring this up again in a few years, but for right now, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yep, that's it. Give me like 50 more heroes, then we can talk bans.
All right. Then you can come back to Connor's table. Come back with a better offer.
75 heroes in Overwatch 2. Overwatch 4, maybe.
All right. I love stealing content. Everybody knows it. On my stream, I'm watching food videos all the time. I love to watch people just go out to little markets and they're eating food. So I actually want to steal some content from the AMA that they did on the on games, the Overwatch 2 games AMA. Was there any cool information to glean from this? I feel like when you get down to the business of when you ask the masses outside of people who play Overwatch questions about Overwatch, it's just not useful, is how I feel. Maybe that's me just shutting down a lot of people, but like I cannot think of an area of the internet more that I would not want to hear questions from than r/games.
It is a lot of that. It's like a lot of like answering simple questions of the beta that exists in the internet. There was a couple of things that came out, as you said, like the hero bans question and stuff like that. But for the majority of it, it was answering just like pretty basic design questions. But there's some interesting stuff on here.
They're talking about cheaters. Did they respond to the cheaters question?
I really have never understood, by the way. but also why I don't understand exactly like. That's the one talking point I will say about this that I've never really got when we talk about specifically on Overwatch going free to play. Everyone, when it comes to Overwatch free to play, seems way more alarmed about cheaters than like any other game that's free to play. And like every other game has cheaters, but everyone's like, oh, they'll ban them, But Overwatch are like, there's a cheater crisis. They're like they're ready. They're ready. They're waiting at the borders to hop in as soon as it goes free to play and just like cheat in my video game. Like I've never people are very, very alarmist about like the cheating aspect of free to play in Overwatch 2, and I still don't really know where this talking point like became so amplified. I don't know if there's like a one gaming news network talking about the cheater migrant caravan or something. Like I don't know what's going on with that, but like
it's all carefree.
Yeah.
It's all coming from him. It's misinformation being spread on a regular basis.
Yeah, they've even answered it before as well. Like if I believe for Overwatch 2, not even just for ranked, you're going to need to attach a phone number to your account. And for me, like from my experience, the more steps you add to make a cheater have to go through to get to there. Like if they add a phone number and then you need to get to like level 50, they've said they're going to increase the competitive level you're going to need to get to on your account before you can jump into competitive. You make more steps, there's going to be less cheaters. So it might be annoying for everyone on their first account, how long it takes everyone to get to competitive, but they're actively combating it. They've said people are just dooming. They got to find something to complain about now that it's free to play.
Yeah, Overwatch doomers. Absolute resident sleeper.
I mean, I'm sure there's like legitimate concern for some people being like, "Hey, what's happening?" It's just that's like the one big thing that everyone talks about. I feel often for the free to play, and I'm like, but every other game on Earth exists that's free to play that does not have like, everyone just kind of like, oh yeah, there might be a couple cheaters, here and there. That's just the price of living in a free to play society. And Overwatch 2 is just like, no, we need to put the gated community of non-free-to-play or something. I don't know.
It is important that they have a way of dealing with it, though, because if they don't, there's been free-to-play games where they didn't have good systems in place to deal with the cheater influx, and it just killed the game for me. Like Halo Infinite, for example.
And Smurfs. Like, they need to do the same thing to stop Smurfs.
Although, dude, Smurfing's already gotten... That's so rampant in Overwatch, man.
Oh, it's so bad.
Well, also,
the game goes
it's
on sale
so rampant in
much.
every game, too. Every game has Smurfs, though, as well. So I don't really see, like... Smurfs are just a naturally occurring portion of, like, multiplayer online games. Like, it's just an irrelevant thing to talk about because you can't stop it unless you're, like... getting the genetic information of every player that plays your game via like thumbprint, and then they can't make any more code. Like, I don't really get like what. I don't understand why people are like. I get it's annoying, but like there's nothing to do about it. You can't do anything.
Yeah. Was there anything interesting in this AMA? I'm sorry, I should have read it over.
No, I mean, we're all busy, okay? Like, we're all busy. Same goes for us on the desk, even, with our commutes and everything. We're busy. It's hard to stay on top of everything. There was the guild system comment that Kurt showed on the screen, that they're really looking into more social systems, which, I don't know if this was ever, like, spoken about from them. I know this is something we have requested for a very long time now.
2016, they said they were doing it, right? Or something like that.
Well, did they actually, though?
But they said the same thing they're saying here. They're like, we're looking into it. It's our top priority.
Yeah, it was definitely
Let me have my hopium. Let me have my hopium, Custa. Okay? I need the guild systems. So just let me have this hopium. Maybe in a year. Maybe in 2 years. I don't know.
Maybe 6 years.
Maybe 6 years. Overwatch 3. I don't know. But they're working on it, okay? That's all I needed to hear to just go about my day and smell the flowers just a little bit stronger today. That's all I required. So just let me have this. They're working on the guild system. Great. Doesn't like Apex already have like a guild system or something?
Yeah.
Like they're on top of their shit. They really are. Apex.
I'm in a Duckies guild.
Yeah. My fiance is like in a pasta guild or something. I don't know what's going on there. It's crazy. They also they had a couple of other interesting things. They spoke about I think John Spector posted something about achievements and how they're remaking achievements. Like before it was like, oh, hit 10 people with sound barrier in a game is lose you or whatever. But they're actually like trying to make those a bit more meaningful, present some more like challenges. And they also mentioned that in battle passes, they're not going to make hero specific challenges. So you feel like you're forced to play a specific hero to make progress. So it says here, we are planning to add a variety of challenges that players can complete to progress their battle pass. We are not planning hero-specific recurring challenges. We are planning lifetime challenges that feel a bit more like achievements and are intended to progress the battle pass in a significant way. We want players to play the game without feeling required to swap onto a specific hero in order to earn progress. Our goal is to also offer you some choices in which challenges you focus on completing as well. So, sounds good. Good news. I love working towards goals that are not necessarily me just like falling into mice in my SR competition. Like, whether that's, doing, unlocking some special Reinhardt skin because I've done, maybe 500 Earthshatter kills or something like that. That sounded really good actually. Maybe they should just do that. Stuff like that. So adding more incentives, it's good information.
I have a housekeeping one as well that I think maybe a lot of people would want to know because people keep asking this question of like, if you have loot boxes in Overwatch 1, they said in this AMA that they will automatically all be opened and all your credits will be stored and all your skins will be acquired and then it will be transferred to Overwatch 2 when that ends up happening. And you will keep all your digital currency that becomes the coins that you have, and it will become its own in-game currency, not the paid currency that will exist in Overwatch 2, but I guess the free currency, if that makes sense, that you'll be able to buy cosmetics with. That was a question that a lot of people were interested by. Yeah,
a lot of these questions I just already knew the answers to. I just scrolled through it. It's a lot of stuff that's already been known. So if you've been following Overwatch a lot, which you're probably watching this podcast, you're probably a hardcore. You're a hardcore. You're on the ground floor, Timothy. You're there. You know all the information. You know everything, Timothy. Never let anybody tell you that you're wrong. You probably already know all the stuff in the AMA. So, I think we've gone over the general stuff. Now there is drama alert. I love drama. What day is it today?
Drama
Tuesday, baby. There's a new Brigitte skin added to the game, and people hate it. Yes.
They don't hate the skin.
They hate the concept. They hate the rich. I can get behind that. Fuck yeah. The new Brigitte skin added. It's a new thing they're trying. Support a streamer where if you give 3 subs to a streamer that's doing the thingy that's part of the program, then you get the Brigitte medic skin. But people are like, this happens every time they do like a streamer event. It's like, why aren't these streamers in it? Why aren't these streamers in it? Valid opinions, honestly. A lot of people are angry because there's some people who've just been streaming Overwatch for years and years and years. They've been in the Overwatch content mines, been getting farmed in these. Yeah, I mean it's a cool looking skin. I'm not gonna lie, it's a cool looking skin.
Awesome.
But people are angry because they just got a bunch of big streamers. They didn't have enough of the small streamers who've been sticking by Overwatch, and a lot of streamers who just don't play Overwatch as well added into it. Now listen, I've been tossed to the wayside. Where was my invite? I didn't see it, so I'm right there with you. The people in the comments, they were all just screaming, "Where's Bren? Where's Bren? He hasn't streamed Overwatch in years. Where's Bren?"
Yeah,
true.
I think it's. The list is never going to be perfect. Obviously, you want to invite people like XQC because he's going to do a lot to market your game, and that's incentive right there. But then, obviously, XQC is a gigillionaire at this point. And he doesn't need those 3 gifted subs from all of his Timmies. While, there's a lot of very loyal Overwatch small streamers who have been streaming this game through the dark ages of the last 3 years that sort of got overlooked. It's a big list. But there's always going to be people who feel like they got left off.
Is in the list.
Yeah, Asmongold's on it. Mr. Rex is fucking on it. Mr. Rex does a bi-yearly stream every now and then.
When was the last time we streamed 2 years ago?
Years ago. You better believe Matt's gonna fire up that fucking stream for tomorrow.
Did he not even stream? Did he not even stream the beta, like the Overwatch 2 actual beta?
He's a working class man now. He can't do it.
Yeah, he doesn't have time for that one.
Let me talk about my other point that I don't like. Obviously, people are going to be upset about that. Their favorite streamer, all that kind of stuff. Who's getting invited? The other thing that I'm not sure. Obviously, this is a great incentive program for people, with Twitch to donate. It just seems weird to me that, Twitch subs are a revenue split between Twitch and the creator doesn't always get the best percentage. So it feels weird to me that there's going to be $15, essentially 3 subs is $15 US. By default, the natural thing is going to be $7.50 of that will go to your boy Jeff Bezos. So it seems a little weird to me, this incentive program, but it'll be cool to see how it works. Obviously Twitch integration worked great with the beta drop in terms of raising awareness and marketing. So hopefully it does the same thing, but not in love with it.
I think the streamers though, for the longest time, the community and streamers were clamoring, saying like, "Dude, we stuck by this game for fucking ages. We've kept it on the life support. Give us something back." And this is their idea for it. The concept of it is good, but obviously the execution, some things need to be worked out. Like that's just obvious in terms of it, because like you said, Scott, like. At worst, 50% of the revenue is going to Amazon. So it's like what is happening here? I mean, I know other games do it differently. They have a creator code, so you can buy the skin directly, and you put in the creator code of the creator you want to support, and then they get some form of either revenue back, or they get something like that. I don't know exactly how it works,
revenue,
but Fortnite does it with the creator codes.
Yep, it is revenue, and so I mean that's probably the best system I think that's been implemented to date in terms of like being able to independently support creators. I mean personally, like at the end of the day, I'm like, well, they've never really done too much like this before other than drops, so I'm gonna be like, great, like awesome. I'm glad they're at least doing something like that where they're incentivizing people and like sort of rewarding streamers for streaming the game and stuff. So like that's cool. Like obviously it's just unfortunate that the money is being taken by Amazon. No, yeah. That's just, and also certain streamers are like not going to be involved in it, despite like being involved with the game for a very long time, and even ones that are potentially larger that have been involved with the games. Like it's just, but it is what it is, Like I don't think I think it's one of the situations where I get why people are upset, but it is also at the end of the day, you can't complain about them trying to get the big people involved because at least it's marketing the game. It's more so like ideally you want to involve your smaller community and the people that have been very active in it too.
Here's a super chat from Tim Osborne, $6.30, and he says, "Is there an upside to limiting this promo? Why not allow you to support any Overwatch streamers?" Good question, Tim. Jonathan, I'll let you take that one.
I don't know. This is
They
beyond
said
my...
they said Andy B said that specifically the current iteration they have not apparently have like unlimited rollout capability.
Oh.
So
It
they're
needs to be
citing some
limited?
sort of technical or logistical thing involved in it. So I don't know enough
Matt,
about that to
Mr.
dispute
X
it.
Morello, taking people's valuable slots for streamers in our space.
So I don't really know enough about the student, but that's their reasoning is that they weren't able to roll it out. You think that would? I mean, I don't even know what exactly is involved with that, so I can't really say like that's bullshit or that's not bullshit. Like who knows? I don't know. I can't know if dispute. So
There is a thread though. Andy did do a thread on Twitter. Oh wow!
That's such a good jump scare. Every time I see it, I get so freaked out.
Andy did do a Twitter thread. His Twitter is at Andy Belford, and he did do a thread, I believe, highlighting some of his favorite small streamers that you should check out during the Support a Streamer event. So, if you want to support any smaller streamers, check this thread out. There are some good recommendations in there. So there's you don't have to default to Asmongold or XQC because they have many viewers and your crowd mentality. Can go out of your way to check these people out too.
I also want to add something real quick, because this seems to be the public sentiment. The Doomers are out coming in again of like $15 is such a ridiculous price for a skin. It's like we're going into the free-to-play Battle Pass model. This is just how it is in all free-to-play games. If you want this unique skin, you don't need to buy the skin. You don't need it. If you don't want to buy it, you think it's a ridiculous amount of money, don't buy it. But these things are priced this way because people pay for them. If you've ever tried to buy a Valorant skin in your life, I tried to buy one recently and realized it was $30.
Open a mortgage.
Yeah, $30 for a Vandal skin. Not even a good one, just a random Vandal skin. It was $30. Like, I understand you might be upset, but this isn't Activision Blizzard being the bad guys again. This is just market standard. Same thing in Fortnite, same thing in all these games. And then the other thing about this that you need to keep in mind is if you miss this skin, they might not re-release this skin again for a very long time. So it's about having the exclusivity of buying the skin and having the skin in Overwatch 2, because that's going to be the future of the skin model in Overwatch 2. Everyone's not going to get every skin all the time. You're going to have to pay for the ones that you want.
The crow part of my brain can't deal with that. I have to, if it's limited, I have to own it. I played League of Legends for a month, and I spent like $300 to get a fucking to get like the Prestige Evelyn skin. It's not even a good skin. It's not even a good skin. I just needed to be bonked. I just needed to be bonked and just told no. I spent so much money trying to get it because it was limited. I had no time to get it. I just spent a bunch of money to get it. Stupidest fucking thing ever. But the crow part of my brain loves limited thing. I bought the Mercy skin. That was for a good cause though overall for the Mercy skin. But I don't.
The Mercy skin is a classic example, right?
Yeah, that was it. I think. But it was like a different color scheme. I think I can't remember. I don't know. That was a skin. I spent like $300 getting it. I don't know why. It was like some weird loot box system. Dude, they got me. These microtransactions, they've got me by the grip of my balls just every single time with limited microtransactions.
Is this skin, by the way, I'm just asking because based off like the look of it, is it supposed to be kind of reminiscent of like the StarCraft 2 medic?
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
same vibe.
I don't know
that's
enough
what I'm thinking
about
of because I see like the green vials and I'm like, and the white tone of it, like the armor color. So I'm like, this reminds me of the StarCraft 2 medic, but like I don't remember enough.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the Blizzard lore.
You just Google StarCraft 2 medic. I think it shows up.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if that was the inspiration. But I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I also like it when you get some nice references. That's one. I feel like that's one thing they've. If that is the case, that's one thing they've sort of lacked a bit in Overwatch. Was like comparatively to like Heroes of the Storm, R.I.P. Well, I guess it's still alive. It's still
that's what. Yeah, you were telling me that Heroes of the Storm is your favorite game of all time.
Yeah, right before it started, actually, I've spent about 10,000 hours in Heroes of the Storm, and so I said how. Yeah, see, look.
That's pretty much the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I really wish they had more references to their their other game IPs. I think it'd be fun.
Oh my god! That picture was honestly worse than the Matt Mr. X Flash picture because I just saw that shield. I saw the shield that she held up or whatever, and it's that part where you can like see through or whatever, and it just reminded me of like Counter-Strike 1.6 whenever someone with a shield would run at you, and you freaked the fuck out. You're just like, this guy has a shield. Where do I go? Like I can't kill. So yeah, it just gave me PTSD. Wow, what a picture. But yeah, also awesome skin. And by the way, if I ever have to file for personal bankruptcy, please someone buy the Dragon set pack for me in Valorant that I had to buy for like $120. I promise I'll go to you guys before I go to the bank. Yeah, I look, man. If I have to file for bankruptcy and the bank is coming for me, dude, I need to get funds. So I'll sell you guys the
That's
Dragon.
Illegal. That's selling your account.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do it on the dark web.
Just make it less. I mean, okay, sure.
I'll take Bitcoin.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready to talk about Overwatch League. I'm ready to talk about Overwatch League news. I'm ready to talk about the business, the dealings that's been going on recently. This news hit while I was doing my VOD Dungeon Owl speedrun. The Boston Uprising have released Huck, the president of gaming. First of all, fire off the cannons. We salute you, president of gaming.
Salute the president.
We salute you, president of gaming, Huck, for your service towards Boston Uprising. But yeah, they ended up parting ways. What did they said here? They said,
I mean, they kind of said, "Fuck this guy."
They did.
Yeah.
It was a harsh written.
It was definitely one of the harsher ones. It was up there with like the DC release of like Ballin', I'd say, in terms of like harsh GM releases. Mineral. I mean, I don't know who wrote this. I don't know who actually wrote this. I mean, maybe it's Stryker ghostwriting this one.
They said competitive viability is our North Star.
We're going. Look at this, GM. We are going to readdress our roster and build for the future. I'm like, what does that even mean? Are they about to blow it up?
Well, so they did say apparently in their Discord that they're not looking to make immediate roster changes.
Okay.
But also, you know, there's also a leak that came out. They're immediately looking to sign another DPS player. Seeker is his name. He's a Canadian player from North American Contenders. So, like, I don't know what that means exactly, like, where they're going to go with their roster. But, like, overall, I mean, I have to say, I didn't think Huck was going anywhere. I'm going to be honest.
Damn.
I thought
he
was going to be... He'd been there since the start of the Overwatch League. 2018, I thought he was going to be, like, a lifetime appointment president. Like... He's like, there was no term limits. I thought he was going to be there the whole time. So it was just a shocking move to me. See him leave, honestly, at just face value.
Yeah, because it did feel like if you were going to make this decision, it would have been much earlier.
Do it before the year started or something like that. Like, honestly, Boston are looking better now with a bunch of their changes. I wonder if the entire Striker situation, there was something that's been in movement since that situation and everything and how that was handled. Like, you never know. But yeah, like... No matter how you feel about Huck and everything that's happened, what
Hold on.
is...
Go to the end. There he is! There he is! We spotted him! We spotted him!
Look at him. So, dude, I had so much hope back then. I can't... But do you ever think back? About, like, damn, like, I used to be so full of life and whimsy. Yeah. And it's been crushed out of me.
Then we went to Bala with those windowless rooms for a year, and since then it's just been.
But the thing is, I didn't feel that way. I didn't feel that way when you were in the windowless rooms and you were just there for 14 hours a day. You would still see everybody, you know, hang out.
It's because
like
you were just sitting in the snack room the entire time. Every time
it was a good time.
The snack room,
it was a good time.
Drinking Coke and eating snacks. Be like, so
it was a good time, man. I had a great time.
You were just rubbing shoulders with the players.
I was hanging out, talking to everybody, meeting everybody. I was like, man, this is kind of sick, you know? It's like
I love the idea of Avast just spending all day in the break room.
Then
like
I kind of did. I mean, like, I spent half the time in the actual practice room, like playing ranked, and the other half the time in the break room.
Like Roshan from Shanghai Dragons comes in and then goes back to his team. It's like,
no, Roshan, none of the Shanghai Dragons Season 1 players came to the break room because they were relegated. they were relegated to their room, having to play 18 hours a day. And not win any matches.
I just love the idea of a team having like a conversation in the room, just like, why the fuck is Avast always in the break room? Like, why is it not part of his team?
Here's the funniest thing was when you'd walk into the break room and there's an entire team. They're just taking a break. They've had a break from scrim rooms. There'd be an entire team like the Houston Outlaws, and then just Avast in the middle. Avast is in the middle because he was just already there, and they've just surrounded Avast, and everyone's just like, hey man, how's it going? And like Avast was always great to have in there because you're such a nice guy. It was always good bands, always a good time. But like,
having a good time there.
It was consistent.
It was good. It was good.
I just love that. You're just a constant. You're like the unofficial mascot of all the teams. You were just there.
Was this when you had like accepted your role in the team, or was this like the first 2 weeks? You're just like, this is my
I think
break
it was.
room?
It was really. I think it was maybe about a month into the season. I was like, I'm fucked. So I was like, well, then it's time to just like move on from the situation. So
onto the break room.
Yeah, onto the break room, and then
do some networking with the other teams.
Randomly fill in like flex support for Neko for like a week, and then that was it. Like that was. So it was about a month into the season. But overall, regardless of all that, I think as a tribute to Huck, I have to say, I think he legitimately as a GM, as like someone that was kind of foundational to the Overwatch League in some ways, I would argue he was, even though he himself would argue against this, I don't think he was foundational to Overwatch Esports, but he was foundational to the Overwatch League. And so he did things differently than a lot of GMs at the time. I think he was like one of the few GMs when the madness of 2018 of like the Overwatch League season 1 and season 2 was like when we were full roaring 20s mode, like everyone was partying and like nothing, there's no tomorrow, like the money's being spent left and right. Like he was one of the few people that stepped back and was like, this is not going, we simply can't continue at this pace. We do not have the capacity. We do not have the capacity to continue at this pace. And he was one of the few GMs to actually kind of argue for like, hey guys, maybe not every player for a game that was essentially dead before Overwatch League should be paid like $300,000 a year or something, you know? Like that's kind of insane. Like that's an insane amount of money, and you're going to burn through all of your money very quickly, and then everyone's going to get burned. And maybe we should scale back some of our plans and like the amount of investment. So
he sounds pretty professional.
He was professional in some ways. And so like, but like, I do think that like it was, he as like a GM was kind of a big deal in terms of like putting some balance into the ecosystem. And also he, because of his strategy, he brought some names that you were really big into, like, you know, that were part of the league, like Gamsu, Striker, Note, etc. Like a lot of people that you wouldn't have seen without him, if he had not been in his position. So I do think that he had a different perspective than a lot of others.
I hope he was able to buy a house with his tenure at the Boston Uprising. That should be the goal of anybody, to buy a house. If you buy a home, that's you've broken free of the cycle.
That's what the rat race is all about. It's all about owning a house.
Property.
That's what we've boiled down modern society into owning property.
No, I came to that conclusion recently. I was like, for most of my life, I just accepted I'm never going to own a house. And then recently I'm like, I'm getting close to being potentially owning a house, maybe, if I'm lucky. And I realized, I'm about to break free. And now I've realized, is it a goal true? I don't know. Listen, I don't want to talk about what I'm thinking about at night. I'm thinking about like society and shit. Like, staying awake at night until 5 in the morning.
Podcast. We'll save that for a spin-off podcast.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to start another podcast series.
Call it Safe Investments. We'll talk economics. Talk economical knowledge. All right, let's take a look at the big picture review of the standings. The Midseason Madness standings review. Seeing all the teams. I was looking at the Wikipedia page for this, and I was confused. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was fucking confused. I'm looking at it. How many matches does each team play? I feel like some teams are playing different amounts of matches towards the last 2 weeks now as we're getting into the Midseason Madness, looking at the standings. But there is essentially, there's this pocket of games. So you've got 3 teams that are already guaranteed into the Midseason Madness, right? At the top, the ones that are solidified in their green, at least in the West standings, and then two in the East. And then you've got just this pocket of teams that could go up, down, this way, that way, anywhere. I mean, this is... firstly, I'm just going to say, by the way, San Francisco Shock, best team in the world.
Not sure about that. Not sure about that one, Chief, but best team in North America probably right now. Like, best very possibly. Yeah.
Gladiators? Come on.
I think...
No, when was the last time
Gladiators...
turnaround from predicting Houston Outlaws just 2 days ago.
What?
Dude, okay, by the way, later in this episode, Custa and Johnny, I'm about to maul out of control at both of you. Later in this episode.
I know why.
Over your predictions. Over your predictions,
sorry.
I'm about to maul out of control.
Does it involve Cox?
I want to save it. I want to save my molding for later when we get to those topics. So, overall, midseason. There's so many different... Someone broke down all of the scenarios, by the way, for like what's happening in North America in particular through like... It's like 4 through 10 essentially to make it to Midseason Madness, because there's a lot of like
any team that's not highlighted, basically.
Yeah, there's a lot of scenarios that could happen and they're crazy. But I can't find the post right now because Reddit's dead. I don't know if Overwatch 2 killed. Oh wait, I found it.
Who is?
Let me get it.
In your eyes, then, who is the favorite then to win the Midseason Madness? And each of these. Let's start with the West. Let's just start with the West standings as well. And talk about these teams.
Midseason is the both regions. So
yeah, that's what.
Actually, so you want to talk about the West and then the East?
They are. They're going to be playing at Hawaii,
aren't they?
Hawaii,
it's both of them. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter who wins West and East. It's who wins the whole thing.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I think. Okay. How crazy, Johnny? I need you to back me up because otherwise,
no.
You know what I'm about to say. Is there a realistic chance that the Hangzhou Spark can be the best team in the world? I need you to back me up on this one a little bit, Johnny, because
okay. Well, they look like a pretty good regular season team right now.
Yeah, 7-1.
But they were so shit in the kickoff clash playoffs that I have no confidence in them showing up to Hawaii and just screwing over the Seoul Dynasty or the San Francisco Shock. I don't see it. I really don't. I think they could do a fourth place 2019-esque run, when they got fourth place and people just forgot about the Hangzhou Spark playing goats and the fact they were good at it. I think they could do something similar this time around, I think they could get fourth or third, but I don't trust them going up against the Gladiators, Shock. No, it's just too hard. Even the Seoul Dynasty. I just don't know if they have the experience and the chops to be able to make those mid-tournament adaptations that are required as well. Because if they're just gonna come out and play fucking Ash Mercy or some dumb shit, no, I don't see it. But they're very mechanically skilled, so gotta watch out.
They're good. They're fucking good. But the best team in the world right now, Seoul Dynasty. So that's just sadly what it is. I've transformed my arc. I was on the Dynasty hate train for a long time, not because of the players, but because of what they represented of they were just undiluted chaos. And every time they could just change the formula of what I'm watching before my very eyes, just rearrange the molecules of oh, now we're good. Oh, now we're shit. And they would just just do this over and over again. But this time they're just fucking good. I'm a believer in this old Dynasty. So I think the standings are, I think the crazy part is there's just so many weird things that could happen for qualification still for this tournament right now, how it stands. The possibilities are kind of ridiculous. And also, what brings me great hope as well is that Justice are essentially eliminated. So,
are they?
Yes, they're essentially eliminated because I'll tell you, because they have to play Glads, Londons, and Titans, and the only way they can't independently qualify in any way because so they don't hold their destiny. The only way they get in is if they win against Titans and London. So they have to beat both those teams already. That's a huge hurdle, and then all these other teams like London, Florida, or Toronto have to lose 3 or 2 matches essentially. So, and the thing is, I don't trust that team. There's just no way they're going to beat 2 teams. Can't do it. So they're out.
Well, they can if they decide if they hit their head again and remember how to play Overwatch, they could win. And that's the thing. That's the gamble of the Washington Justice.
No, it's not a gamble. You keep on saying it's a gamble. You guys keep on the gamble. You guys keep losing the gamble every time. So
I'm winning lately. I'm doing great lately because I've just decided to gamble against them 100% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. But
I'm so curious as to what our prediction segment's going to be with the percentages, because listen, I don't follow the Overwatch League as closely as I don't have time to, but I follow 2 core rules: always bet against the Washington Justice, always bet for the Shock. And those are the 2 rules I've been following so far. And also, I've just been basing all of my APAC predictions. If I haven't caught up on APAC, I base it off of 2020. I just based off the 2020 season. I'm the strength of those teams at that time, and that's what I predict based off of. So that's my style. That's my style. But I'm really curious. I want to dive a little bit here because we're just kind of just talking generalities in terms of favorites, bubble teams, blah blah blah. Let's focus in on here. Let's talk about the San Francisco Shock because they're at the top of the standings right now, 10-0. Have they now proven their dominance to you? Because listen, standings is one thing, but in terms of being an actual top team, because in everyone's mind, Gladiators are currently the best team, right? They're the ones that came out on top in terms of the kickoff clash. They're looking like the best team. But have the Shock proven themselves now with this win over Atlanta? Do you see hope here for the Shock to end up being a top contender, a top dog?
I think that they're going to always be a competitor at the top end. I'm a little worried that the same thing is going to happen to them in the midseason tournament as it happened to them in the kickoff clash, where they play like a very meta style, but they do it their own way. Like they played this Lucio Moira, they played like a little bit of different stuff, and they were just comfortable playing their own thing. And they're doing the same thing in the midseason tournament, I think, like where they have a couple of weird picks here and there that I'm like, I don't really agree with that, but they're so mechanically good that I think it hides the weaknesses of it. And they get away with it for 90% of the league and 90% of the regular season. But then when they get to the playoffs, they play against people that can match their mechanical skill. I think they're going to fumble. And I'm worried that's going to happen to the Shock again. I hope it doesn't, because I think they're a great team and I think that they have great coaching. But I just want to see them have more, I don't know, bulletproof compositions in a way, and not just rely on Papa Tracer.
When I was watching them play the Lucio Moira Sombra stuff,
I
was like, is this comp actually good, or is proper good? Was what I was thinking the entire time, because yeah, it felt like it didn't have that many legs. But I am genuinely fucking stoked to watch the Shock at the tournament, because this double flex support backline that they've got in the form of Violet and Finn, now that they're playing Zen Ana, they just pound, man. Like, they absolutely pound, especially if they find compositions that make it work in terms of playing towards its strengths. Like, they were playing really well in terms of teams that were trying to exploit the fact that their backline was pretty susceptible to just being dove upon with the Mikey ball and working around it with various different comps. I think they look like they should be able to take a couple of scalps and more, I think, coming to Midseason Madness. That was my takeaway from watching this. But also, I'm watching from a very narrow viewpoint. I'm like I'm a distance, you know. I'm like watching the stars on a telescope from the 1500s. I don't really get the full picture yet.
I mean, I love them. I think they're so versatile, like perfectly versatile for this meta, where they can play Mikey, who spent an incredible wrecking ball. They can play him on control maps, and then they can swap onto Kalush to play the Sigma, which is his best hero, on stuff like this, like hybrid and escort maps. I just think it's a perfect combination. I love their strategies. I think that, I mean, I said this several times on the broadcast, just like the way they approach fights and the way they utilize these heroes in a very tactical, Jesus Christ, tactful manner.
Tactically sound.
Tactically sound.
Yeah.
I speak for a living, by the way. In a very nice manner like that, and they're not just reliant on a soldier and popping off. I think it's really good, and they shored up some of their question marks that, you know, it was always San Francisco Shock, they lose on control maps. This year it's been more like San Francisco Shock, they lose on escort maps. But overall they're just like very well rounded, play so many different heroes and compositions, and I'm a big fan of them. The one thing I'm worried about, if anything, is just like their reliance on Moira compositions to control. You know, I'm never like a huge fan of people committing to Moira on a permanent basis, because it's, you know, there are several ways to outplay a Moira, you know, whether it's by biotic grenades or disengaging or stuff like that. And at some point I feel like someone's going to abuse that fact and counter strat that. But overall, I mean, I think they're playing perfectly right now. So I think they're probably the favorite to win the entire thing, to be honest.
Ooh, yeah, that's spicy. I mean, I think they're really, really good. I think this team is competing between them and the Glads for the best team in North America, and they're competing to potentially be the best team in the Overwatch League for sure. But I think Brennan, Scott, you touched on it. It was just their comp choices are kind of odd, and a lot of their power gets driven by proper popping the fuck off, like repeatedly. And also, I think this double flex support comp has been slowly against teams that have, especially like when you compare like versus like Glads, or, you know, another good example would be like Dynasty and even Spark, potentially. It's like the double flex support is very easily, like the Zen Ana in particular, which is like one of their best looks, is very easily dealt with if you just have a tank player in the server that can then swap to like Winston or Ryan, and you can play like standard dive or rush. And that's where a lot of teams have been struggling with, is because you don't have a lot of hyperflex tanks necessarily. So you're kind of committed to a style, so you can't swap to like properly deal with this in Ana, right? And because the Shock backline's so flexible, they can, and with Cluj as well, they can swap to Ozanaka. And that's also, God, these Hangzhou like wall climb things have been very unfortunate during the season so far this year. So I think Shock are very good. I think they're potentially the best team in the league, but and definitely fighting for the #1 spot for North America. But I don't think they're like a shoe-in because of these comp issues I've seen from them and the reliance on particular play style. So.
Okay. Well, another team that's also going to be the favorites coming into this is the Los Angeles Gladiators, obviously. And are they unbeatable? That's the question everybody's asking. When I was watching their match against the Houston Outlaws, I walked away from that. I watched the Shock match that we were just watching there, and I watched the Houston Gladiators match, and I walked away feeling a little bit more strongly about the Shock comparative to the Gladiators. And I don't really know what. I think it's because they played the Houston Outlaws so close, and I just don't have respect for Houston inherently. There's something at the back of my mind that just, I don't know. There's just something there. Something there that I just don't expect much from Houston. I expect them to they get to the race, and then they just don't get further than that. And so the fact that they played so closely against one another, I thought was a little bit more worrying. I don't know. Do you guys agree?
I very much agree. I think the Gladiators, they had a 3-0 versus the Vancouver Titans, which was way closer than a 3-0 says. Like, you know, Vancouver Titans have been looking better, but Gladiators should be able to bop those guys. They dropped a map to the Paris Eternal, who have not been looking good in the midseason tournament. And then that 3-0 to the Houston Outlaws, they are, you know, they're 2 just non-C9s away from being up 2-1 in that series, or like 2-0 in that series. And the Outlaws, I don't think played particularly well. Like, I think they were struggling. Dante was struggling to stay alive. Pelican was not having that level of impact we know him for. I'm not sold on the Gladiators so far in this midseason tournament, and I want to see more from them. But right now, I would predict a Shock over the Gladiators, even though I'm pretty high on the Gladiators.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of fair. I think Glads also have been. That's another team where all the pieces are there for them. It's clear they're not quite as on the same page as they were, and they're still looking great. You know, like they haven't lost like a match. You know, still like sure they had a close match versus Houston, but the thing is like Houston, their caliber, their team is good. It's just they're just lost in the sauce all the fucking time. Like that's why I don't even necessarily hate this Houston result. Is because like Houston should be really good right now. The problem is it's Houston Outlaws, so they're not.
When they had multiple opportunities to win multiple maps in this series.
They should be good. And like they actually should. Like, so I don't even hate this result that much. For Glads, it's more so okay. Like I'm sure they're still gonna get better. Their kickoff clash performance was so good that like I don't feel like I can write them off. And also they have a great hyperflex main tank that can make sure they can play all the compositions they want. Their backline is incredible. So their Kevster continues to look fucking crazy. And even Ons when he gets subbed in and Patipin when he gets subbed in, they both look incredible. Like they just still look really good. So I'm not writing them off. I'm not going to necessarily put Shock in the forerunner yet because I think Glads have a fucking great team still. It's just so painful. This Houston match, man, was.
I was watching this. And I was like, "There's no fucking way Outlaws lose this map, right? There's no fucking way. They have good positioning."
Yeah.
Everybody steps off.
Yeah. That one was bad, but the one before that was worse.
New Queen Street was way worse.
Queen Street was way worse than that one. They had two awful C9s. And like, so that, but to be fair, like that's about right for the Houston Outlaws. So like, you know, it makes sense, but it's just like, I can't believe it. So I don't even rate that match that badly against the Glads because literally Houston should be a really good team. They should be a really good team.
They got double flex support. They got Lastro and Zenyatta. Like, he should be incredible. Dante's been playing well in the Doomfist. Merit's a good hit scan. Like, I don't know where it's gone wrong for this team. Hopefully they can turn it around. I get physically pained watching this because I predicted the Houston Outlaws, and Johnny can attest to this. I was the entire like first 8 minutes of this round, I was just molding about how bad the Houston Outlaws are playing, regardless of this C9 and stuff like that. They're just like Pelicans just playing his own game, and Tracer in the backline just getting hard diffed by Kevster. Like Merit's the thing, and then they just do shit like this. Like they were in the driver's seat for that round. If they keep pushing, they get a pick. They probably win that map. Like
that's insanity. That is like one of the worst. Also, that's my first mauled moment. I can't believe you predicted Houston to beat Glads. That's my first mauled moment right there.
Dude, I felt it. It made sense. If the Gladiators were ever going to drop a match, that was going to be one of them. If Houston was ever going to be good and like have that pop-off moment where they beat a team that you wouldn't think they would beat, that was the moment. Yet instead of popping off, they decided to just avoid the cart like they're allergic to it.
Okay, so I need to give the Outlaws fans some hopium here. They did. I mean, play closely with the Gladiators. Besides Eichenwalde, first of all, the series is a wash. Okay, just forget about it. It didn't happen. It was just filled with mistakes. You know, 2 C9s. Who cares? Just like move on. But besides those 2 C9s, it was a very competitive match. Map 3, you're just boomed. Eichenwalde, it doesn't matter. Okay, you're boomed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. But the first 2 maps, they were really close. Merit has been one of the best Sojourns so far this stage, albeit playing against very bad teams. You know, so far we haven't, you know, seen him, you know, take over a game against like Shock or Atlanta yet, which, you know, is a completely different thing versus doing it against the Vancouver Titans. But overall, I think that the Outlaws, they're looking pretty good. They have a match against the Atlanta Reign this week. I wouldn't say Outlaws are the favorites by any means, but I expect them to at least put up like a good fight. Like I look forward to seeing the Outlaws play. And I think the Gladiators, as much as we want to like, you know, look down on their performance here now, they played teams close. This was a, you know, pretty good series, I think, between 2 good teams. So, you know, they're not number 1. If I had to predict Shock or Gladiators tomorrow, I would pick Shock because I think Shock are the better team. But I think that Gladiators is still like a, you know, top 3, top 4 team in the region, and Outlaws is, you know, number 5, 6 knocking on that door. So I think there was 2 good teams. I don't think, you know, we should all shit on them.
No. I mean, they didn't play awfully. That wasn't my takeaway. It was just
they just C9, which is like, you know, it just interacted with the amygdala in your brain in a very unique manner. So, you know, it's
angry because we care. Right, like they should be a good team.
Oh,
that's
I'm
the
a
reason.
Washington Justice apologist. I understand.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's even more indefensible. That's even more indefensible, and I will be yelling at you later in that.
Yeah,
so that's fine.
Let's revisit the standings real quick as well and talk about these bubble teams that are not going to make it in, because I want to let's just go through the list here, because there's a lot of teams. This might be difficult to try and pin down which team we expect not to be making it, but I know my answer. Washington are up there as one of the teams that are not making it in, but you also probably need a second one.
Boston, right? Probably
Boston, Washington.
It's probably
both,
Boston.
I think Boston and Washington both don't make it. The thing is, here's the current situation is like, so I'm just gonna read out like kind of how it works. In fact, I'll put it up, but like pretty much for London to make it, they can just beat Justice or win 2 matches and they're in. And they're playing Paris, Justice, and Dallas. I think that's very doable for them. That's for independent. Like other results, like other teams losing could get them in still, even if they don't win those matches. But like just winning 2 matches, including only beating Justice, I think that's insanely doable for London. So I think London are probably pretty safe. Florida, theirs is hard because they have Boston and Glads left. Which Boston not the hardest one, but Glad's very tough team. But they can't independently qualify. They have to
put it in the chat, Kurt. Live chat.
Yeah. Did you put it in the live chat? Yeah. So they have to beat Boston, and also London has to lose like all their matches. Toronto has to lose all their matches, or Justice has to lose 2 of their matches. So they're kind of hoping on other squads, and also obviously they have to beat Boston. And then Toronto, they have Glad's Paris Shock, which is 2 very tough teams remaining. To get in, they have to win all of their matches. Not possible, more than likely. Or they have to have like
the things in the live chat. You said the talk about
this in the live chat.
Okay.
And then pretty much, and then there's Justice, who has Glad's London's Titans, and they pretty much can't get in either independently. So like the edge cases are Florida and Justice.
Holy nerd. Dude, there's a lot of reading. I don't know if I want to read.
But the point being is that there's only 4 teams you really have to look at. It's Justice, Toronto, Florida, and London.
Yeah, my brain can't pass this.
Boston is like, I mean, Boston, their remaining matches are hard, and they just haven't looked enough to me for me to even include them in the conversation. Obviously, they technically can, but I mean, I don't see. It's pretty hard when you consider their upcoming matches are going to be Mayhem,
Florida,
Outlaws,
Houston, New York.
Yeah, I mean, they have. I think New York is obviously okay. Sure, Houston.
New York.
I mean, I don't. New York, yeah, but the thing is, if they lose to New York, then it makes sure that Boston can't
Right.
make it.
Okay. I
Is
see.
the thing.
God, that's so complicated. I don't even want to talk about it. Just
Yeah, it's a lot, but pretty much you have to just worry about 4 teams and maybe Boston, but you have to really worry about 4 teams. And
Okay.
but my bet is I don't think Justice or Boston makes it. My bet.
yeah, this is crushing my soul. And speaking of soul crushing games, there was a game recently. I was watching the games, and this Washington versus Toronto game was on the list, and I started watching it. I watched a single team fight, and I went to another game. I went to another game. It wasn't worth the time investment. And yeah, I mean, do you need a new name for a toilet bowl match? Do you need a new name? Do you need to coin some new term for it? Can't we just call it what it's always been known as, the El Clasico?
It's the El Asico, actually.
There
the
it
El
is.
Asico.
There it is.
I mean, the El Asico has existed for a while, though. That's a term that's existed for.
Oh, it has?
That existed
Oh, okay.
with Houston and Boston, in 2020 and such.
I haven't played
like,
marbles in a while.
yeah, the El Asico has existed for some time, but I mean, this went exactly as expected, honestly.
Were you co-streaming this match?
Oh, I was, but I was fucked up because I was fucked up because of the fact that so Midsummer, the Scandinavian festival for solstice happened. So listen, listen, there's a whole story involved. So I work with a bunch of Swedish people. Their Swedish friends were in town, including one of my coworkers' mother.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, Midsummer's happening tonight. Do you want to come to our Midsummer dinner?" And I was like, "Sure, sounds fun. I would love to do some Swedish things, you know." And so I show up. And I put on the crown of flowers and everything, and then they start singing songs in Swedish, and between every lyric I have to take a shot. And I'm like, holy fuck, and I hadn't eaten that much that day, and then I got absolutely destroyed at Midsummer. I got absolutely destroyed. I would probably have not have coached him that day if not for the fact that my body was smarter than me, and it made me puke. So I was able to get all the poison out of my body ahead of time. So I was able to go live the next day, but I was just destroyed. I was a husk of a human being when I went live, and the first match of the day was Justice Toronto.
Yeah,
that was the first match, and I'm sitting there I should have had. I mean, I didn't have the energy to maul as much as I should have, but I am going to maul now at you, Johnny, for ever predicting the Washington Justice to win matches against any team that is not New York, and even New York could be a toss up because this is the most Justice match ever conceived.
You guys,
this is the most Justice.
You guys,
it's crazy.
Johnny Scott, you guys are you're in person now, right? You're in the truck together.
Yeah.
So you're watching these games together.
I think the moment that we mentally checked out as well was this exact moment. That was the moment. That was the moment of yep, I'm not invested in this game anymore. I'm not interested anymore. When Kalios's Doomfist was so bad. And then Muse says in his interview later, he's like, yeah, I've only been playing Doomfist for 2 days. And Muse hard diffed Kalios. It was this game, everything was wrong with this game. It was just two bad teams playing against each other who just they have great players, just have no fundamental understanding of how the game is played. Literally, they could just copy the compositions from another team and they'd probably do well, or just practice at all, but they just
I mean, that's essentially what Defiant did do with this comp.
And they're good
comp, and it was pretty decent.
Yeah, Washington on the other hand, they're playing Lucio Anna fucking Doomfist. I don't know, it's not the worst thing in the world, it's just they don't look like they have any idea what to do. The only map they won was the first map and Decay went crazy, and that's usually, and then he went missing for the rest of the series, as per every Washington Justice series ever lately.
I don't know what stage of grief I'm in, but at this point I feel sorry for the Justice. I'm you have Mag, who, he can play Winston. He can't play the Wrecking Ball in this meta. His Doomfist was okay, I suppose, but I'm not excited to build around Mag's Doomfist. So they're okay, we're going to play around Kalios for the entire time. And then they decide to put their off-tank player to be their Doomfist player because their main tank can't really do the job properly. And they did. How much Sigma did they play? They barely played any Sigma.
I don't think either team played any Sigma. Yeah, I don't. I think they played a Doomfist head-to-head the entire match.
Exclusively Doom.
So neither of these tank players are great to have in this meta. They just lack flexibility in that role and confidence in that role. But the backline's okay, I suppose. The DPS line, it's good. We know that. But at this point, I'm like, fuck, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, if you're the coaching staff of this team, because I wouldn't want to commit to Mag, and we kind of have to roll with the Kalios Doomfist, because he can't. I mean, you could play Sigma here, but like, I'm not excited to play Sigma on. Like,
this goes
Legion
beyond
Gardens.
the Kalios problem, though. I don't think you can exclusively put this on Kalios not being good at Doom. Like, there's just zero coordination for this team. There is like, and if Decay doesn't pop, or Happy doesn't pop out of their gourds, then there's just no chance they accomplish anything. Like, and that's just not how it's supposed to work. Like, it's clearly, I don't even fully blame Kalios for this loss at all. Like, obviously, his Doomfist was atrocious. It's just Justice continued to be Injustice, where it doesn't feel like there's a lot of like synergy. Doesn't feel like there's good ult usage. It's just hoping that Happy or Decay just wins.
Can I give you guys a new dose of Washington Justice copium?
No, not really.
This weekend,
I'm immune. So
Vigilante comes of age. Vigilante is officially able to play.
Oh, Krillin Vigilante action, you think? Almost like
Maybe.
support?
No, they're going to fuck it up. They always do. But it could be interesting to see Vigilante play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's bad. I think it's a net positive still. It's just, once again, I just don't think that's... I mean, who knows? Sometimes a new player coming in can revitalize your team because it changes the way you can play your comps, etc.
No, this team has like generational curse applied to it. Ever since the fucking day that this organization was coined, it has a curse laid upon its head, and it will never find success. It will come close to it. It will come close to it, but it will never find success.
Okay, let me ask you this question. And, you know, I'm not going to say anything, but it might imply something. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Supreme as your head coach or KDG?
KDG.
I'm going to say KDG. KDG, yeah.
Because he's at least had some success. Oh.
He's at least had some success somewhere. I don't know, other than like the Hangzhou Spark in like 2019, which there was other staff involved there too, and like also good quality players. I don't know. Like, obviously,
true.
And the thing is, for KDG, as long as this is easily solvable, because Justice have always been full Korean. That's so true. It's easily solvable.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bit of a edge case, but it really does suck for Logix. I'm not trying to make an excuse for that. That's obviously like, you know, a terrible coaching job to what he did to Logix and like isolating him isolating him the other way.
Yeah.
Excluding him. But yeah, I mean, at this point, like the fact that Washington Justice have struggled the way they've done now for like 1.5 years or 1.5 seasons, like, holy fuck, something has to change, dude.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
It's not the players. Like, it's just not the players. Like, they have good players. Like, you have to look elsewhere.
There.
And I'm not gonna say more, but something has to change.
All right, let's go on to APAC then. Honestly, every time I host a show, I might just have a rule where we have a minute to talk about Justice anytime they come up as a topic, and that's it.
I mean, they should be banned seconds. Like how we banned like FPX in the Valiant.
Yeah, and we just have a timer that gets put up, and it's 60 seconds, and it goes down, and as soon as it's done, we're done. We can't say anything more. But let's talk about APAC here. It's a little bit more general. I watched a couple of these games here from APAC, and there was some interesting shit happening. Namely, Seoul. Dude, I was watching a Seoul game versus Shanghai. I was like, dude, who is this Stalker player? And I'm like, did he join recently? And then I looked at the join date. It was the preseason before the season in like 2021. I was like, what the fuck? But this guy was dominating on the Tracer. Honestly, he was having a really good showcase against the Shanghai Dragons overall. I think APAC is probably the most interesting region currently between the two regions. I would say between West and East. Like it feels like so much more is up in the air, especially with Valiant just having all this drama and subterfuge and chaos surrounding it in terms of just the players having to rally up against the corporate hierarchy where they're like rallying together to get players signed, and Marvel's just fucking dominating. He's dominating in his matches. He's like carrying them to victory. This region is it's all over the place. But it's fun. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, I think some teams are good. It's cool to see like some teams that we don't expect coming into the season do well. Like, as you said, like Seoul Dynasty, we're always a little cautiously optimistic about them, but they're doing well. Spark seem to have their shit together in a basket. so they're doing well. Valiant, the additions, Molly played like crazy. Like Marvel and Molly were both great signings, even if they were getting paid by the rest of their players. But like, for me, the big surprise is Shanghai Dragons. Like, obviously they've had a bad situation. People are saying their practice facilities haven't been great, all the COVID situation in China. But Shanghai Dragons, with their roster, they should not be doing this poorly. And yes, they can't play 2 tanks anymore, which was one of their biggest strengths. But I brought this up to Johnny, and I want to pose this question to you, Brennan, Connor, of like, do you think that the rest of the league has caught up to the caliber of mechanical skill as the Shanghai Dragons? Because, this is the roster they had in 2020 when we were like, they're just the best individual players. But now they're going up against Shy and Alpha Yi, and the backlines potentially are better in other teams. Like, do you think there is a world in which Shanghai is just going to struggle mechanically, not just strategically?
Yeah, I know. I never thought that there was the when I was watching Shanghai at the very tippity top of their peak, I always thought a huge strength came from their tank line of Fate and Void. Fate was so intelligent when he was playing, and they worked really well with each other. The dance that gets played between the tank duos, and the overall coordination of Shanghai was just, it was unbeatable. And the mechanical level where they had to be like, you had to have these incredible superstar players. Like, don't get me wrong, Flutter and Lip, great players. Iziaki as well, for like very, very skilled players. But ultimately, that wasn't the selling point of Shanghai in my mind when they were at their peak. It was the coordination and them playing together. And I think they've really kind of struggled, I think, to find that same kind of level with the move to 5v5. You've got situations where I think you're seeing a ton more agency with DPS players in teams where you're really seeing them unlock. Like, I've seen more profit moments this season than I have in what feels like the last 3 years. Like, it's just the nature of the game now is moving into that direction, and I think it doesn't move towards the strengths of the Dragons when I've been watching them. I think it's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's how I'm viewing it when I was watching this game. I think that point really got hammered home to me in this series.
Yeah. I mean, also, I don't know if it's necessarily a mechanical issue. Like, sure, great mechanical players have entered the league, but I definitely think that it's just, a lot of mechanical freaks have entered the league to help equalize the power of the Shanghai roster, but definitely the loss of the current, like the play style of Overwatch 1. I think these players were clearly the best at how Overwatch 1 worked and how the style of Overwatch 1 playing around 2 tanks. But they've struggled when they don't have that second tank to anchor them. Because it's not just about not having Void. It's also the flow of the game is very, very different. The meta changes are very different when you're down an off tank. When you're only playing 1 tank, the way that the entire team flows and set up team fights and peel, etc., is very different. So I definitely think there's been a lot of great players entering the league. But a lot of these same players that are being Dragons now existed before. It's just Dragons clearly don't have the same grasp of this game as they did in Overwatch 1, in my opinion. And they just were the best at playing 6v6.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. Like, whether if you're like the most skilled mechanical player of all time, compensating for like poor positioning or doing like a mistake with like a tracer blink or something, that's going to dramatically affect like how effective you are on your hero. So in many ways, the reason why the damage players on Shanghai were so good in 6 versus 6 was because they were at the right place at the right time, backed up by their 2 tanks in a very good way, and it allowed their mechanical skill to shine. Whereas if you're trying to get away with mechanical skill to make up for deficiencies in positioning or mismanagement of your abilities, that's going to be very, very hard because everyone in the Overwatch League is so good, right? So I think it's an important point that like the dynamics of 5 versus 5 is going to change how your damage players perform because their positioning and where they find themselves in fights. I pretty much said the same thing as you did, Bren, on the broadcast when Custa answered it. I was just like, Void and Fate Void and Fearless were crucial to Shanghai Dragon's success in 2020 and 2021. So I don't think it's a big surprise that they're seeing a bit different results so far in 2022 as they adjust, but they're so mechanically skilled that I think eventually they'll find their footing. I haven't lost confidence in them as a team yet. I haven't seen any like super weird decisions that just like, what the fuck's going on with the Dragons? Like, they'll figure stuff out.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be a shame for them to drop off, I think, as well. But, I mean, speaking overall positives as well in this match that we're watching, Seoul Dynasty, they look good, man. Smurf, I think, has been playing really fucking well on a multitude of roles. Prophet is having these crazy moments. This is the game where Fitz just went nuts as well. I mean, he had back-to-back, I think, 4K, 5K moments where he's playing the Sojourn. Like, the team looks like they are firing on all cylinders. I use that line a lot, but I think it's quite fitting with Seoul because... yeah, it's it does. It just feels like the game of 5v5. It fits into the strengths finally of this team. I've seen so many moments now where the DPS lines of various teams are just having these incredible moments where they are just dominating. And yeah, finally, Prophet is unleashed again. We just needed it to be 5v5. Like back when the game was 6v6 and people didn't know how to play, you saw many Prophet moments. But yeah, It was pretty sick to watch. What do you guys make as well of this, like, I don't know, the Brig Bap that people are playing on the back line?
I think it's good depending on the comp.
Yeah.
Depends on the comp. I think sometimes when people are playing like Brig Bap with the ball, though, I hate it with every fiber of my being. I've seen a couple teams do like Brig Bap with like the ball and shit, and I'm like, this is not good. But like if you're playing with like a Sigma or maybe even like a Rhine or something like that, like I don't mind it. I think it's solid.
One team,
I don't like it.
Yeah, one team I don't know why my brain just went to that. I was just looking at it. I want to talk about the Valiant though. I want to talk about their matches because this team they're the talk of the town. I'm not gonna lie. Listen, the news, the rumors, it's all circulating them. Apparently the players are no longer crowdfunding their own players now.
Yeah.
Apparently
They
that's
fired
like
people so they could fund the others. Good job.
Yeah, apparently that's not happening now. But yeah, the question is, what is Valiant's path to the Midseason Madness? But I feel like they're already forging their way there with the reverse sweep against Philly. I mean, that's the match that I want to look at as well as the centerpiece of this one because currently I think they're the second bottom team when it comes to the standings for the Midseason Madness, if I'm remembering correctly. The only team.
Yeah. So yes, looking at them, they are second to bottom. Yes.
But the way they're playing at the moment, they've got the win over Philly, and I could see them winning over Chengdu if they haven't played already. I actually don't know how the matches work out. I don't know what
they have Chengdu, Shanghai, Seoul, Spark. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a world where I see this team actually doing bits. I don't know. They've got this weird camaraderie buff. Like where it's like the world is against them. The players had to rally together. Marvel is like dominating. The backline's always coming together.
Oh
Zonde,
wow.
Still in the chat, by the way, supporting the Los Angeles Valiant. Don't know if he was aware of everything that's been happening with this organization over the many years, but this guy is just a resounding supporter of the city system, the city-based system of franchising. He just loves the Los Angeles Valiant so much.
Actually, I want to comment on this because he actually commented on my most recent video something of this on this line. He said, Payzonde said, honest to God, as big of an OWL fan as I am, I understand so little about how the franchises work as businesses. They're big investments, and I wonder how revenue recoups look like. The revenue recoups that. Sorry.
He posted that on YouTube on your video.
On my YouTube, one of my YouTube videos. Yeah, there it is. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, what's up?
Dude, I mean, but the thing is, I'm gonna say it. This is the clearest indicator of how like franchising can work because Tayzonde doesn't know shit, but he's like, dude, I love this franchise, and that's no different than a lot of other sports. I'm like, so many people don't know dick about anything in sports wise, but like, this is my city, you know, like, and I gotta support it. Like, I personally think that it's still a good system. I mean, it's also when you take into account the Optic news that just happened too, where Envy doesn't exist as a brand anymore.
Yeah,
Envy is now only Optic, which, to be honest, as an ex-employee of Envy, I'm not surprised that it made sense, like, to like just merge them. But Dallas Fuel still stays the same, you know, even though that their company that owns them, Envy, doesn't really exist anymore. It's now Optic. It's still Dallas Fuel. You know, there are some clear advantages, I think, in terms of like retaining those continuums, I think.
It's just, I don't know. People. It is funny. Yeah, it is a great example of how franchising works. The tribalism aspect, my city, I will support it no matter what. But just, yeah, I always, Tayzonde is the one constant for the Valiant. What are their upcoming matches then? What do they have to do then to qualify for this?
Yeah,
they can not independently qualify. So
Chengdu, Shanghai, Seoul, Spark. So Chengdu and Shanghai, are going to be the two they're probably looking to win. And I mean, this is written in such a hard way. Does anyone understand this?
Yes. So essentially, they play Chengdu they play Chengdu and Shanghai this upcoming weekend, and then they play Seoul Dynasty and Hangzhou Spark the next weekend after that. I want to throw in my thought on the hat of I think people are massively overreacting to these Valiant wins. I think that they beat the Guangzhou Charge and lost a map to them, and Charge looks like they're fucking lost. Like, they look like they just played Overwatch 2 or they didn't even read the patch notes. And then the Philadelphia Fusion match, that wasn't as much. Yes, Valiant are playing good enough to capitalize on the success, but the Philadelphia Fusion was the biggest example of they put a fucking rod in their bike. Like, they should have won Gibraltar easily. No way. They had they absolutely in like 5 different moments they should have won Gibraltar.
I've never seen somebody throw as much as Belarus on Gibraltar.
Yeah. He's just fucking jumping in on his own, just diving the backline and just die. They just kill him, and then they're like, okay, and then they just walk back in. And then we go to fucking New Queen Street, and the Philadelphia Fusion lost to can you bring this up, Kurt, of the New Queen Street of this match? They played like Sombra, Lucio Zenyatta, Zaya, and something, and like a Sojin. And like, it makes no sense. And you're like, this shouldn't work at all. And then
what
they full
match
capped.
was it? It was Philly, I guess, too?
Philly against Valiant. And then they full capped on them playing this weird as shit comp. And like, Philadelphia Fusion just imploded. And like, they lost all confidence in themselves and just stopped making any plays. All of their good players went missing. It was a strange match. And I think something that I am worried about is that I think Carpe is having a very hard time right now in Overwatch 2.
New Queen Street.
Yeah, New Queen Street,
Philly
the fourth
versus
map.
Valiant match, yeah.
I think Carpe is really struggling to find his footing right now on this team, and I think at some point they need to start leaning onto MN3 and Zest more.
I hard agree with that, I think. I don't know if it's weird though as well, because I see bad overall decision-making when MN3 is in, like in terms of just the team shows hesitation with what they should be doing at a given moment or time. But when Carpe's in, there's less hesitation with the overall decisions that they need to make. Like, oh, they're flanking this, we need to fight this, blah, 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 whatever. But Carpe finds himself in these weird positions constantly where he's being caught out. Constantly. Yeah. It's so weird, this complete juxtaposition between the same team when just the two players are swapped out. I can't make heads or tails of it, man. I really can't. Yeah, it's weird watching this team. I mean, and this comp, this idea that they've had with this comp, it was a good one. Like, they're playing this like kind of rush brawl comp, I guess, this esque with the May in terms of how they wanted to play it. But there were so many moments where the team would rush and Carpe's trying to take an off angle, but he just doesn't realize that he's being pushed by the rest of them. It doesn't get calm to him or something, or he's just like at a weird angle trying to get value out of his gun, but he's constantly hiding behind cover, so he's never actually really getting value because he's playing off from the rest of his team. It's odd watching a Fusion play. It's very strange at the moment because you can feel them want to play Carpe, and I think the justification they gave before was that Carpe was more experienced in terms of his calling, right? Is that why he was seeing playtime over MN3? I'm pretty sure when I was watching the game, someone in my chat said that a while ago. Could have just been absolutely bullshit. Could have just been source. I made it up, but I choose to believe it. But this series was just. It was strange. It was strange. Just many moments of just throwing.
Really dominated the first 2 maps. Like, dominated. Like, it wasn't close. Like, the first 2 maps. Yeah, this should have been the easiest 3-0 by Philadelphia Fusion ever. I don't know what happened. Maybe a coach came in and just gave a demotivating speech, but something's off the goop. Good. If you can go to the 4th map, I just want to see the composition. Speech. Yeah, it was. Man, I don't know what happened to them. They just snapped. And it's the most Philadelphia Fusion thing ever. And they're now, if you look at the standings in the East, 3-5 in the regular season. The only reason that they're, having success is the 2 points. Look at this composition. Sombra, Sojin, Zaya, Lucio, Zenyatta. And they dominated the Fusion. Like, how does this composition dominate the Fusion? I have no idea. But like, he whiffs grabs. Like, Sashin's like, Valiant aren't playing flawlessly. He just whiffs a grab, but they go on to win the team fight. And they go on to just dominate. Like, something's wrong.
I mean, it was definitely, I think at points of this match, there was DPS differentials occurring, honestly, like tempo. Like, they just had a lot of space to work with. Their DPS were hitting all their shots.
Not even
they
that,
were kind
look,
of popping.
Look at the swaps they're making. They're scrambling. to like find answers for
yeah,
this.
I mean, Fusion just, it's clear they're in a rut right now, I think, to me. And I do kind of agree with you, Custa. But like the reality is that Valiant, I've already made this point, Valiant have been designated the league's meme team. And thus, if anything happens, mildly fluctuates with them, people are going to lose they're going to pog out of their gourds no matter what happens, because they've already chosen that this is the team that will be the meme for the year. And there's no escaping it. It's just how it works. We live in a society, and that's just what it's going to be like. So I don't think that I don't think it's going to change too much. I do think Valiant, their DPS players have been looking good. I think Marv 1 has been good for them here, but like this Fusion match was crushing because Fusion should have won it. They actually should have won it. They had all the conditions too. It's just
Gibraltar
they didn't
was so painful.
get anything.
Yeah,
they just didn't get anything going for them. Like it was just crazy.
Yeah, dude. I'm sorry to keep chopping and changing. I should have pulled specific clips here, but if you go to Gibraltar, which was the third map, I think, right?
That map, yeah.
Yeah, and when Philly are on their defense side and they're in the middle section, the hangar, I was just in pain watching them play that section. I was in pain because it was just Belos Ria just feeding every now and then they would just lose power position after power position. They had such good control of the map at that middle section. They could have just held on for ages, and they just kept giving them openings over and over and over again. It was God, it was pain. Like just it was.
Belos Ria died first, I think, like 4 or 5 different times.
Yeah.
Just in these one defenses and attacks and stuff like that. It was just. Yeah, and like they're losing to a diva as well. Like, you know, that's the worst part as well. People are gonna be like, maybe diva's good. No, it's not. It's not. It's just if you have Belos Ria just inting in, it'll work.
Marvel was just he was just using his boosters on Belos Ria and Belos Ria engaged, and was just chunking him down every single time. He had some good moments as well though, but yeah, quite painful for the Fusion. Definitely many moments to win this particular map. I'm calling it now. I think Valiant are going to make the playoffs. They're going to make the Midseason Madness. They're going to beat Shanghai and Chengdu.
It's a hard one to make. It's a hard one to make because they're
going to beat Shanghai and Chengdu.
I mean, yeah, it's very possible, I think. And then also they have to have, not only do they have to beat them, but you know, Shanghai and Chengdu also have to lose like 2 to 3 matches like each. So
wait, it's not in their hands?
It's not in their hands. No. They're out.
Sure?
They're out of it. It's not. Their independent qualification is not in their hands. It's entirely dependent on them winning some matches and other people losing because of the kickoff clash bonus points.
Oh.
It's out of their hands.
Oh.
Yes.
Well, I still think they're going to win those matches. Yeah, I don't really have much else to add on to this. I've just been rambling. Johnny, are you agreeing with our points?
No, that was a beautiful segment. I'm proud of you guys. It was very entertaining to listen to, but I don't have anything else to add.
Okay.
I think you guys did a very good job summarizing the Philadelphia Fusion and the State Rune.
They are disappointing. It's time for a break. I like this part of our show because I get to walk around a little bit and take a break. All right, we're going to take a short break. I don't know how long it's going to be. Probably like 3 minutes. We'll be back. Thank you very much for all the super chats as well, everybody, and the members and whatnot. Much appreciated. You guys have been popping off with that. I was trying to inject the super chats into the show wherever I could. But by the time I had... This is a Bren... ADHD brain rot problem, but it's not on you guys. But by the time I had looked at the laptop, we had already moved on from the segment, so I just couldn't inject it. But thank you for the super chats. Some of them were pretty good in terms of what you guys were adding to the show. Thank you for that. I'm also now going to run to the bathroom, so I'll be back. Listen to like the volumes of like music that makes you poop or something. I don't know.
We're gonna go to Carefree again. This is the tried and true song. Eventually, I'm gonna download a bunch of royalty-free music, but it's not on the priority list right now of things to do. But yeah, thanks for watching the show, everybody. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Yeah, appreciate everybody that's been becoming members and supporting the show. If you guys are just watching, feel free to like the video. It also helps as well. It's a bit loud. All right, I'll turn it down. My mic's pretty loud too. There you go. Oh, that's a good question. Avast, are you here? Oh, he's not here. We'll have to ask him what table he got for his room when he gets back. Yeah, obviously the Overwatch 2 beta is back right now. If you didn't know, now you know. And maybe it will stay up. Maybe the servers are up. I don't know. Are the servers up right now? Like, are they working?
Yeah, the game's live. The game is live. You can get access. You can be playing it right now.
Okay, cool.
If you have codes for it. If you have like a code to it, obviously.
Do you need a
not everyone
do you need a
gets immediately
second code?
whitelisted.
Because I got in the first.
Yes, they refresh the. I'm not totally, but they refresh the beta access essentially. So for some people, apparently, like it carried over, like, but only a select group. But pretty much, if they refresh for the general populace, you had to get access to the beta again because they changed the backend due to the fact that like now they're doing crossplay and doing console beta, etc. So all the codes refreshed, and so you either have to sign up again and hope you get it, or you can buy the Watchpoint pack. And not only do you get a bunch of like cosmetic stuff for the game and things, you also get immediate access to the beta, this second beta.
Oh,
So.
I thought I was gonna be able to play. Guess not.
Yeah, not unless your access carried over or you've been granted access for this beta. So
I'll try tonight. Well, we're back. We're not back.
it's just me.
I mean, the
just
countdown
me,
shows
actually.
up on screen for everybody. Avast, what kind of table did you end up getting?
Oh, I didn't get it yet because I was planning to get it, and then I was like, well, I'm thinking, and then I went to Midsummer, and then the weekend happened, and then now I'm here. So it's like I haven't actually ordered anything yet by any means. So I'll probably end up getting the first one. I think I linked. I can't remember.
You guys talking about the beta and tables?
Yeah, beta and
Do-
tables.
do I have
Also, there was a
access to the beta?
story. It depends is the answer. So you probably don't. Sadly, I think you've left the privileged group of like you get your stuff carries over. Sadly, but some people apparently their beta access carries over, and then for most people you have to reapply to the beta or get it through the Watchpoint pack. I think is how it works.
Dude,
So-
I gave blood, sweat, and tears to this game.
Because
That's how they
Scott,
treat me.
your beta access carried over, right?
I bought the Watchpoint pack.
Or you just bought the Watchpoint?
I
Okay,
just
so
bought the
you're not even a good You're not even a good case study.
Oh yeah, as I said,
So-
people keep saying it's not a good deal. It's like they said you get the first 3 battle passes when you buy it. You get 2 exclusive skins, you get a token, and you get the thing. It's like
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a
want the
relatively.
skins. Yeah,
Yeah, I
like-
mean, it's no different than like it's like the same as like buy. It's probably a better deal than if you wait till the game to go live and then buy the battle passes independently, get some extra stuff. So
if you're planning on putting money into the game eventually, like when the game comes out and you want to buy the battle passes, like this is a pretty good deal for that. So.
yeah, and if you're interested in Overwatch, like you want to play the beta and you want to support the game, Watchpoint, like all there. I remember Kurt, you had sent me a message earlier being like, please tell the soccer story. And I was like, what is he talking? What the soccer? I'm assuming it was when we were doing the Uprising segment.
Yeah, it must have been the Boston
And
Uprising segment.
It must have been the Boston segment and talking about when we used to play indoor soccer all the time or outdoor soccer. But I don't know exactly which story he's like you're talking about because like all I remember was that Huck used to get like way too involved in the soccer. Like, he was like really like involved and like he was going really fucking hard and like getting physical, you know, like with it against the players and stuff.
The
like
real iron shoulder.
he cared like really heavily about the soccer. He was into it. I'm like, but I mean, it was a way for him to burn off steam, you know. But it was very funny because it was like all just like us. Just like a bunch of like total dweebs that like don't play any sports, you know. And there's Huck like going fucking hard, like really getting up on you, like you know, getting physical, like trying his best. Like it was too good. It was too good.
Dude, look at this group of gamers. Anyway, let's get into I quite like this part of the show. This is the match predictions for week 8 as well. Last week, Little Timothy, you did some predictions as well. The match of the week, I believe, was what, the Dallas Florida match. And 68% of you picked Dallas Fuel. You guys were correct.
Nice job.
You got it right.
Let's go, Timmy.
Nice job.
Let's go, Timothy. You're 3-2. You're above average. Yeah. Absolutely popping off. You're pogging out of control. Good job, Timmy. Now, let's see how badly we're doing. Let's look at the last week and the overall talent scores.
Oh, Johnny, you went 2 and 6.
Jonathan. Wait, how does Custa
Wait, how
have
does Bren go 5 and 3 and I go 4 and 3? How does that work?
It's because you refused
one
to
of the
pray.
game.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
that'll do it.
Yeah.
That'll-
So you actually just artificially increased your percentage point.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that should count as a loss.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Nice.
69%.
Nice.
Nice, Bren.
Johnny would have been
Nice.
pounding this week as well.
So okay, what did I do wrong?
Justice. Justice.
I predicted the Justice. I predicted Florida over Dallas. I predicted
that's
Shanghai twice, and I predicted Guangzhou over Valiant.
Yeah. You
I
kind
got
of ran it
San Francisco
down.
right, and I got Gladiators right.
You predicted
And I-
Guangzhou over the Valiant?
And I predicted Paris over Boston.
Dude, you ran it down
Holy
mid. You actually ran it down mid. I mean, I also predicted Paris over Boston though, but
Yeah, that was not a good pick.
Oh.
That one did not do well.
Oh, I don't
Hey.
know. For some reason, I was like, oh, Krong Sigma develops a good hit scan.
Krong
Far away is good
Sigma.
Zenyatta.
So you've been talking to me too much, Johnny. It's over. My charge trunks, I've sold them all. They suck.
All right, let's get started with the first match that we're going to be predicting. It is the Philadelphia Fusion versus the Hangzhou Spark. Let's have a look.
It's a
at
good
the
match.
Preds, and we've all gone Hangzhou Spark for this one. No faith in Philadelphia Fusion after the showcase from last time. I think that's quite reasonable, to be honest.
well, it's also just Sparker looking really good, independently of Fusion's performance. So
We want to give this one the. Is this a guarantee?
yeah, this could be a game. I feel like this should be.
I think this is a
I'm ready to
guarantee.
guarantee it. Yeah, I'm ready to guarantee.
Oh,
Great, great. Yay.
his face.
Great.
Holy-
Really good.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Is there anything else that needs to be said on this? I feel like we've spoken our piece on Fusion.
It
Hangzhou.
could be close. I mean, who knows? Fusion could show up randomly. It's possible.
Well, yeah.
It's possible, but like Spark, with their current DPS line and the meta and how they're overall look like a very solid team right now. So.
Okay. Match number 2, the Chengdu Hunters versus the LA Valiant. Oh god, what a banger this is going to be. Ooh. So me, Scott, Johnny, we've all gone Valiant, but Avast, what's going on here? You've gone
Sorry, can I
Chengdu.
switch? I've talked
You wanna
myself out of the
switch?
Valiant. Yeah, I've talked myself out of the Valiant
I was
just this
surprised.
episode.
Okay.
I want to go to Chengdu. I don't know why I went for the Valiant on this. Sorry, Kurt.
50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that seems about right. I mean, I think Scott's overall points that he made. That, to be fair, like I get that. Sometimes you're like, oh, like actually I'm thinking about it more. Even though you made a prediction like many days before, you're like, but you're thinking about these fresh points. Like the reality is, I don't think any of Valiant's wins have been amazing, and I think some of their comps have been straight up fucking troll at times. And the biggest downside for me to Chengdu was like they somehow managed to make the Jinmu like DPS pick work more. They've managed to slot it in, haven't played some Tracer and stuff, like, because the rest of their team is good. And also Monk is a fucking giga pounder.
Yeah.
Monk does
So
pound.
like I'm just like Chengdu I think just seems like the better team as long as they keep making everything work that is working for them, and they have the right pieces. So
I just know Jinmu's going to suck in this match. I'm going to go, you know what? Jinmu actually looks pretty good. You know, it feels like they've managed to integrate him, and he's going to come out and play Pharah or some shit, and he's just going to suck. I feel like that's what's going to happen. I'm going to be wrong. But I think Chengdu should win, theoretically.
The
There'll be a
Valiant have
lot
got
of bad
something.
Jinmu Blades here. That's my prediction.
They've got something here. It's the Overwatch League when it came about. There was a certain like sterileness about it. Everything was clean, quite prim, professional to a degree. Everything was buttoned up, and you lost that ancient esports energy that just teams that were just like built together with a box of scraps in a cave, Iron Man 1 style. And I for the first time in a long time, I've got this vibe from the Valiant where they are like, it's like I've gone back to 2014 esports with this team. They nobody knows what the fuck's going on. There's a sense of camaraderie. Marvel's getting paid in fucking, I don't know, like just food vouchers or something. Who the fuck knows what's going on? But the team, they're making it work. They're making it work, and I can just feel them carrying us on. I can feel them keeping us going. There's an energy in the air here, and Chengdu feel like they're lost. They are lost at sea. There's no, I don't know. I can feel it. I can feel it in my air. Let's move on to the next match. Seoul Dynasty versus the Hangzhou Spark. This is going to be an absolute ultra giga banger. Two of the top teams currently at the moment, and we've almost all gone Seoul Dynasty with the exception of Scott. You've gone with Hangzhou as the sole person predicting Hangzhou. Thoughts?
This feels like when I went for Paris over Boston. It's like, it doesn't really make sense But something about the Spark right now is just tickling my fancy. Shy Alpha Yi, they look really good. I like the compositions that they're playing. Seoul Dynasty, they could start struggling again. I don't know. I'm not fully on the Seoul Dynasty train yet. I think the Spark have a nice firepower to them. But as I keep speaking, I'm like, well, what do they win in? And I'm like, not the tank matchup. Probably not the DPS matchup. Probably not the sport matchup. But fuck it. Let's go, Spark.
You just want to believe.
I mean,
Yeah, I just
Seoul
want to
just
believe in
looks
something.
insane with their damage line with Stalker. Like Stalker just like thrown in. It's just like, oh yeah, replace Fitz, and he just like dominates. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, holy shit! They have so much skill on this roster. I don't know. I feel like Seoul is just like the top dog, and I think it's a bit of a prediction trap to bet against them right now. So
I'm trapped.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get into those traps.
Yeah.
You're like trying to outsmart the system. You're trying to outsmart the teams with analysis. And I'm just like, some point you're just like, no, like Seoul is the best
This
team
is the
right
first
now,
time I can confidently say that I think Seoul Dynasty is the best team in the Overwatch League currently. Like for years. Literally, they've been clamoring for this for years in the Overwatch League.
Overwatch League.
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
For sure. Yeah,
like
absolutely.
what other times even like Seoul Dynasty is like the best team in the league.
No.
Like
No, so
confidently.
you're better than the Shock
You mean
and the Gladiators.
you think they're the best team currently in the Overwatch League?
Yeah, I
Of
think
all
so.
the teams.
I think
agree.
I think they're crazy. I think they're out of this world. Custa says Scott says I agree after voting for Spark.
Well, okay, no, I think
Spark
Spark is gonna win in the regular season because Seoul love to throw regular season games, but then Seoul will show off for the playoffs. Like
I don't think the thing is I don't think they do throw regular season games anymore. I think they're done throwing. I think
Maybe.
they've had
Hold
enough.
Last year was one of the
maybe
best
I-
regular season
it's-
teams we have.
I just think it's in the DNA these days. I just think they've got it.
Well, what is in the DNA? If they were great at regular season last year, how is it in the DNA now? Did they fucking genetically modify themselves in the
they still
offseason?
throw some shit. Yeah, they've always thrown. Prophet's going to decide. He's like, you know what? I don't feel like
When have
playing
they
like the GOAT
thrown?
today. I don't know. Sometime in the past, recently.
When have they thrown?
Johnny, stop asking questions. I don't have answers for them.
All
Next
right.
match.
It's a dynasty for a reason.
Paris Eternal versus the London Spitfire. Battle of the EU teams. We've all gone London. We all have faith in the London Spitfire for this one over the Paris Eternal. Do you not think that there's a semblance of Paris Eternal winning this one?
No,
No, not after their
absolutely
latest match. Not after their latest
No.
match. There was some hope before that, but after the latest match, they look really rough.
Threw it all
So,
away.
I
Yeah.
put this match down before the Boston Uprising result. I regret putting this match in here. What a waste of time. Get the
Okay.
fuck out of here.
So, guarantee, or do we want to save it?
Oh yeah, that's a
fuck.
guarantee.
We're done. That's a little He's giving me the eyes right here.
Dude, you're
Oh my
actually doing the
God.
Kubrick stare. You're doing the Kubrick stare in that one.
Holy shit. That is actually just fucking send me. Okay. Next match. Atlanta Reign versus the Houston Outlaws. We all got Atlanta over Houston.
Guaranteed!
This can be a guarantee.
I don't
It's a
think it's a
guarantee.
guarantee. I don't
It's
think
not
it's
actually. I don't think this is a guarantee. I don't think this is a guarantee.
I question
Yeah.
this heavily. Houston
don't
weren't
think it is.
awful versus the Gladiators. They had some bad moments, but if they string it together, which they've never been able to do this season, they can be competitive. But I don't trust them to do that, so that's why I went for Atlanta.
Yeah,
I
I
assume
don't
that's
think
everyone's
this
the
is a
same.
guarantee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way. I could see Atlanta losing this. I could see this going to map 5 and Houston just C9ing multiple times in the series again. I could see a whole host of possibilities, but I don't think it's a guarantee quite as much.
I think it's a
Okay.
guarantee.
Next matchup we got coming up is the Paris Eternal versus the Toronto Defiant.
Oh God.
This is an interesting one, isn't it?
Oh, Bren, I have to ask you a question. Bren, did you watch the Paris-Boston game?
Nope.
You should go
Yeah,
back and
well,
watch that game.
Let me tell you, it's
I
not
ain't
you.
changing my pred.
Uh,
I ain't changing my pred. I'm not changing it. I'm sticking with this one. I don't know. Listen, this is one of those games where I might be in the wrong, but listen, it's the same with you, Scott, with the Hangzhou Spark game. Do I think they're going to diff in various roles? No. Do I think they're going to win? Yes. And that's why I predicted Paris. There's no analysis behind this. There's no thought behind this. I'm just doing it.
I respect it.
Yeah. Next one. Oh, our final pred is going to be the Florida Mayhem versus the Boston Uprising.
Oh,
What a matchup.
he went for it. Oh my god. I
Everybody
don't
else has
hate
gone
the Fred.
Florida, apart from me. I've gone Boston.
It's actually tough, but I think Boston have gotten away with. I think Boston got away with just beating down on some like bad teams and probably the worst Atlanta had looked throughout this. But like, because they got crushed by the Shock and Eternal they crushed, and then Reign. I think they were looking really rough at the time when they played them. So I feel like this. It could be actually a decent series, though. It could be, but I just don't have a lot of faith still in the Boston DPS line, even though they looked pretty decent recently. I just don't.
Maybe.
Yeah, but maybe. He hasn't been announced, right? Like, if that's actually happened. I still just don't. But I think Crimzo Faith and Punk look really good.
Crimzo's the truth.
I think and also the MCD rotation, swapping MCD
All right,
to
calm
Ana
the fuck down. Paris literally just like fucking fed their brains out, okay? And I understand that a Zenyatta player gets a lot of credit for that, but come on now. That was ridiculous.
I mean, that's the thing. That's why I'm not predicting to win this match, right?
Yeah.
Like, Paris
no, I'm just saying the Crimzo hype. It's just like, yes, Crimzo is going to look good.
I'm all in on
that.
I believe in Crimzo. I think Crimzo is massively underrated in the league right now, and he doesn't get enough credit for
He was good on Houston,
I feel like
too,
Crimzo's
and Dallas.
proven himself time and time again.
Or Dallas.
Yeah. It's not just this season, this most recent match.
Don't get me wrong. I was one of the first people, even going into the season, to be like, I love Crimzo. I think Crimzo is a legitimately good Overwatch League flex support. But like, after this Paris Eternal match, it just like went to another level where I'm like, yes, but also context of how he popped off as Zenyatta in that match against Paris Eternal. Dan was feeding his brains out on Doomfist, and you're playing as Zenyatta, just like shooting orbs. Like, yes. I am high on Crimzo too. I've said this for a long time that I think he's a great flex support player, but that was ridiculous. Like, that was just stat inflation on a different level. Holy shit.
Again, just literally pulling out the fucking archives of 2020 expectations. Dude, I don't know what to expect. I just went with Boston, took a punt on them. Some recent news popped up. Oh, Hux left the team. Okay, I'm going to go Boston. I don't know why. Literally nothing to do with it. I don't think Huck was the thing that was holding these guys back. Maybe now they're going to feel like this sense of freedom where they can experience the world for the first time now, the players, and they're gonna pop off. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, that's the prediction segment. That's done. A reminder that I am also leading, so all these upsets that I'm predicting are they're not upsets. It's just going to be correct. Actually, am I leading in Preds?
You're tied with the last.
You're tied with me. Yeah.
That's problematic.
That's
problematic. I feel like out of everyone on the show, me and you, Connor, we exist in a state of just constant, like almost partial observation of the Overwatch League. Even though you're co-streaming full time, I feel like you just have that. Sometimes I tune into your stream and you have a glazed look in your eyes.
Well, to be fair, that is true most recently this past weekend because of the Swedish rolling me. But like, I mean, like, it's also true in the fact that, like, much like us both, Bren, we also are both watching two different esports at the same time.
Yeah, it's
so
hard.
It's also hard to have quite the same level of like.
It's hard to keep up, and yet our Preds are at the top. So what does that say about society, huh? There he is.
What does that say about the league right now? You actually look.
I mean, this is the day I was rolled. This was the day I was rolled. Was this day?
Got sweat rolling off your forehead. Just.
To be fair, that's just my hair. That's just my. I have a shiny forehead, man. I just have a shiny forehead, and I need lighting, matte powder. Somewhat. I also think I just because I'm a very well moisturized person, I need like matte powder. You know, to like skin. Take care of that. Yeah, so I kind of just need matte powder. Like, whenever I get on broadcast, like when I did the San Antonio thing, the makeup artist had to put like 40 pounds of matte powder on me. Like 40 pounds of matte powder. So
let's move on. Final segment of the week. Final segment of the episode. The Bren's Player of the Week. And who was the player who forgot to take off their mouse feet gliders?
Fitz.
Was it Fitz?
The bottom plastic on this.
I'm giving it a Fitz for playing with a fucking mouse with the plastic wrappers on the bottom without realizing for the longest time. And dude, what the hell is going on here? Just incredible. Just incredible. Didn't take off the protective film under his mouse. Been playing with it for 2 whole months. He won the kickoff clash while playing with the film still attached to the bottom of his mouse. And now he's taken it off. And the guy has been giga-pounding in their matches. He's been absolutely giga-pounding. So I'm giving it to Fitz. He wins the Himbo Award of the week. And yeah, I mean, well earned, I think, as well. Stay tuned for the upcoming weeks as well, because there's some important news on the horizon when it comes to the James Webb Telescope. The first images, I think, are going to be released, I think, on July 12th. Wow. I think it's the day for that. Wow. So the scientific community, I know they're all watching. They're pretty rare that they haven't won an award in a while, but that might be an opportunity to look out for as well on that particular episode. We'll have to see. But a question for the viewers as well. What kind of haircut do you think that Connor should get next? Connor was saying like, oh, I want to go for something new, something crazy. Do you think he should dye his hair like a bleach it? Do you think he should go for the mullet? Because a bunch of teams have got mullets now and they're starting to win, apparently, a bunch of players. What's your thoughts on this? What's your favorite haircut? What did you have for dinner this morning? You can just answer whatever you want. You can pretend I asked a question to you that you want to listen to, and you can just comment it. I just need engagement on the video. Follow our Twitter, Plat Chat Podcast. Thank you very much, Scott, Avast, and Reinforce as well for joining me. This has truly been. My life is falling to pieces. I feel stretched thin. What's that? There's the scene in the Lord of the Rings, where he's like, I feel like butter spread across toast too thin, and he's fucking talking to Gandalf.
Was that Bilbo?
Yeah, Bilbo holding the ring. That's how I'm feeling at the moment, with just the amount of just going on and trying to keep up with Overwatch. I put up a speedrun timer, a live split speedrun timer to measure my progress in terms of watching and catching up with the Overwatch League matches. Anyway, thanks for watching the games this week, and thanks for watching the show, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye!